Good evening, folks, and welcome to our live coverage of the severe weather event unfolding in the southeast across the United States here. I'm student meteorologist Aaron Sray here to start off with this coverage with a map here from the Day 1 Storm Prediction Center outlook here with that moderate bullseye there across Mississippi, Louisiana, and into Arkansas this evening. And that severe weather threat today does pose the largest with tornadoes, which has close to a moderate risk, as well as that high winds there with up to 60-mile-per-hour winds possible as well. So these are very life-threatening winds, the straight-line winds that can come out of these thunderstorms. Doesn't have to take a tornado, folks. It can be these straight-line winds that can cause the most damage as well. Also, large hail up to 1 inch is possible, especially towards behind me here where that moderate risk is at. It's where the best chance perhaps you could see some very large hail, and as well as that flooding, that localized flooding is possible as well across those areas around the Tennessee down towards about northern Louisiana. So this is the available instability that we have in the atmosphere here with those yellows and those reds here. So we'll see those storms make their way over the night tonight across the southeast there. So even places like Birmingham and down into Jackson may potentially see a rumble or two with thunder, even a few severe thunderstorm warnings perhaps throughout the night. But of course we'll have to watch as that continues and progresses off in the next coming hours or so. And this is part of the reason why we have the elevated tornado threat. We have those winds aloft coming in out of the west, and we have those winds at the or close to the surface coming in out of the south. What that's doing, it's allowing for that wind to rotate in the atmosphere and allow for that column then to extend to the ground and form what potentially could be a tornado here. So that's why the best place where we could see tornadoes are, again, in that quadrant between Mississippi, Arkansas, and down towards Louisiana. So there are a few tornado warnings here, and we'll get to that just in a second. But here across the National Water Vapor Loop, we have that well-defined cold front right here behind this system right here, at least across Houston and Dallas, where that dry air is starting to filter in place, and they are no longer in the severe weather threat. However, that has all shifted now, so it's currently over eastern Arkansas, down towards Louisiana, and also up towards Missouri, where they're seeing the best chance for severe weather tonight. So tornado safety. So in the event of a tornado, you want to make sure you go towards the interior portions of the house here. So a hallway, a bathroom is also very ideal, or the staircase as well, and make sure your interior portion of your house where you're away from windows, which could shatter potentially from debris from these tornadoes. If not, if you have the basement, that would be the best place to go. If, of course, in Florida, but across much of the southeast, there are not really, at least not really many basements. So do watch out. And if you are, at least if you don't have a basement, go to the interior portion of your room, perhaps at the very lowest level, and make sure you perhaps, if you can get any protective gear, perhaps blankets or a mattress to protect yourself as well. So for our central radar here, or south central radar here, we do see the potential for those severe weather continuing across, at least into around the midnight hour, across Mississippi down towards Louisiana, as well as entering northwestern Alabama as well. So places like Jackson, Birmingham, and Nashville are not going to be off the hook here tonight, as we do see those storms progressing off towards the east. And then again, those will continue to push off further towards the easterly direction as we get into tomorrow morning. And we should begin to see those skies clearing across this region. And however, that storm threat does actually continue on to Florida tomorrow, but not as strong here, as we see that marginal risk for the panhandle of Florida up towards about South Carolina, where they perhaps could see a tornado or two or an isolated severe thunderstorm. This is a marginal risk, so 1 out of 5% or a chance of severe weather here, so not a 4 out of 5 like we're seeing tonight across much of the valley there. So across the Mississippi Valley here, we have those severe thunderstorms that are continuing near the Little Rock area. If you can actually zoom into this tornado warning here just south of Memphis, where it is currently warned is crossing the Mississippi River going into Mississippi there. So we currently have a tornado warning in effect for the Greenville area here. And so those of you who are around the Greenville and just north of there, please make sure you do take precautions. Go into an interior portion of your house or building you're currently at, and this potentially could be a tornado on the ground as it does cross the river into Mississippi. This box does go from the far southeastern portions of Arkansas all the way up towards just south of Clarksdale and also just off to the northwest of Greenwood. And we also do have that severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect for across the entire, or I should say tornado watch that's in effect for across the entire area, which means tornadoes are possible over the next several hours as those ingredients are in place for potentially seeing a potential for any tornadoes there. But if we can zoom out a little bit there on radar there to see the tornado cover or the tornado watch there, it's in effect for much of the area. So yeah, so from about northeastern out of Louisiana all the way towards southwestern Tennessee is where we have the best chance for seeing tornadoes anywhere across this line here. We have that bullseye, of course, of those thunderstorms. Heaviest precipitation occurring just between Arkansas and Mississippi, where we do have that tornado-warned storm occurring. If we can actually zoom out a little bit to see if we have any more coverage of any more storms. If we can go maybe perhaps a bit further north towards Memphis, right there. It looks like we do have an alert there. I believe it's a flash flood warning up to my north here. But closer here, we do have that severe thunderstorm, tornado watch, I should say. It's in effect for the greater Memphis area. And we do have a few cells that are just off towards the south and the east, or I should say the south and west of Memphis coming your direction right now. So even though we do not currently have a tornado warning in effect for the Memphis area, but it's something to currently watch as we do see those cells move further and closer towards Memphis in the greater Interstate 40 area there. And this line extends all the way from about Tennessee all the way down to about the Gulf Coast here. So even if you're not in the moderate risk, you still want to make sure you're careful with exactly where you plan on going here. And again, that extends all the way down to the 55 corridor there, and as well as US Route 82 there. We have that storm that's near Greenville, that tornado, I believe that's that tornado-warned storm. Can you go to velocity real quick just to see what perhaps any winds that might be show a tornado? However, we'll have to watch as they're perhaps doing that real quick. Again, this is very dangerous storm as we do have Greenville is in effect, of course, just north of there where we have that tornado-warned storm. So if you're anywhere just around US Route 278 off towards the northwest, so following at least US Route 82 all the way towards US Route 49 west there and towards Cleveland, you do want to make sure you do take precautions as we could perhaps see a tornado on the ground here in Greenville. It's not for sure. It just means that you need to take precautions because radar has indicated that there is a tornado there, at least rotating. So again, even if there's not a tornado, you do want to make sure you stay in the lowest part of your structure as, again, there is that potential for that. But as that line continues on, so places like Cleveland may see this tornado-warned storm go through there. So if you were in places like Cleveland or even just to the north of Indianola there, you want to make sure you do take those precautions. Go to the interior portion of your room or of your building there where perhaps a hallway, as I showed in the graphic earlier, a hallway, a bathroom where there's no windows. Try and cover yourself perhaps with a mattress if you can, or a helmet, a bike helmet perhaps. And you want, because at least at the end of the day, you want to make sure you protect yourself from any debris that could perhaps be flying around you and could perhaps cause further injury. So towns like McGee there as well, they're pretty close to that tornado-warned storm. You also should take those precautions there if you are, since you guys are very close to that tornado-warned storm. It looks like the center is right there where that rotation is at, just to the northwest of Greenville, and that's moving off towards the northwest towards Cleveland there. But if I look around my shoulder here, Greenwood and Kruger should also be careful with the storms perhaps off towards their southwest that could be moving at least towards the northeast, towards their direction over the next several minutes or so, as those storms are strong and could potentially pose a threat. And again, as we're going to see all night here, potentially a spin-up tornado or two is possible across those areas as you go through the rest of the night. So again, reiterating once again, there is a tornado-warned storm just to the northwest of Greenville there, where that red box, that red polygon here, where at least right here is where we have that tornado warning. So again, that includes Cleveland, all the way through the Mississippi River and down through US Route 278 down towards Jerome is where that tornado warning is in effect. So again, if you're anywhere between Cleveland and Portland, please take those precautions. Go to the interior portions of your structure. It is vitally important. Actually, if we can zoom out a little bit to show the entire picture and radar here. Yeah, so we have those thunderstorms there to the north near Memphis and Hernando there. So again, Memphis needs to err on the side of caution. Potentially could see those damaging straight line winds too are possible as well along this line. That's actually a pretty potent storm there, just off towards the east of Forest City, moving towards the greater metro Memphis area. So if you're following at least the 55 corridor there, just to the north or just approaching Memphis and following that all the way down is where we do have the potential for those strong storms. And actually, speaking of stronger storms, we actually do have a severe thunderstorm warning here in effect for the Memphis City, greater Memphis City here, from Forest City just off to the east of Memphis towards 269 there, where there are at least indicated those very strong winds and potentially hail as well. So again, treat these severe thunderstorm warnings like a tornado warning. Go to an interior portion of your building, stay away from windows, as potentially you could even see flying debris from straight line winds as well along that line there, where we see those reds and those, at least those very dark reds and those very dark oranges, where we have the heaviest precipitation, where the radar is picking up the largest raindrops and the most dense raindrops here. So again, Memphis is at least right now under that severe thunderstorm warning. So again, go indoors. Perhaps it's better if you go to an interior portion of your structures, so that way you can actually take precautions in case there are debris that is actually flying. But again, this extends across this 55 corridor here as you go off towards the south there. So again, we have the tornado warning that's moving into Mississippi there. And if you go a bit further south too to see if any more cells there. So we do have another tornado warning here in effect just off towards the east of Jackson, Mississippi there. So forests all the way just off to the east of Palachia, and along U.S. Route 80 and also along Interstate 20 is where we do have that tornado warning storm there in effect there. So again, overall, the general pattern across much of the region is going to include around that bullseye where we have the greatest chance for severe weather. Is going to primarily be from about Louisiana all the way up towards Memphis, Tennessee, where they have the 4 out of 5 chance of seeing the severe weather. We also have, again, the biggest chance or the biggest threats here for the severe weather tonight will be those high winds and those tornadoes, again, which are possible. And we've seen that already, as I've just showed you here, across radar. We also have hail as well. That's also possible, those large damaging hail. Again, that will likely be here within that bullseye, but anywhere outside of that too. Remember, this is enhanced risk, and we also have the slight risk around that too. And that means that we could still see the severe weather extend all the way that far too. All it really means with this category is that the chance of seeing it. So the greatest chance of seeing the severe weather is across Mississippi River here, but again, it can happen anywhere, even outside that bullseye zone. And if we go back towards our instability here, we have that those yellows and those reds, which indicate the highest levels of what we call CAPE, which is the amount of energy at least able for these air parcels to rise quickly, which means that these thunderstorms can get going and form very quickly. And along with wind shear too, these storms can perhaps rotate and form tornadoes like we've been seeing over the past few minutes or so across Mississippi. And again, it's because we have the winds coming out of the south from the surface and those winds out of the west from the at least a bit further high towards the middle of the atmosphere. And as for that national water vapor, we have that area of low pressure. We have that cold front just extending just off to the east of Dallas down through about the middle of Texas. They're done with the severe weather tonight and across also the plains. However, that severe weather threat is continuing and is ongoing across Arkansas, eastern Arkansas down through about northeastern Louisiana and also far northwestern Mississippi, where we do have those storms starting to enter the state there, as well as the volunteer state. Tennessee is also starting to begin to see those thunderstorms move through the area. So once again, we want to stress tornado safety here on FSU Weather, where the best place to go in your house is the hallway, the stairs, and perhaps the bathroom. So anywhere interior portions of your house is the best place to go, away from those windows that's the weakest portions of your house, where perhaps debris could fly in through those windows and perhaps cause damage to yourself or injury. So again, the best places to go, or if you don't have a basement, will be the interior portions, the far bottom, first floor of your house. Again, basement is the best place to go. If you have a basement or your building or whatever structure you're at has a basement, that is the best place to go, as of course that is just below the ground. It's away from it's the furthest point out from your house or your structure away from all the potential elements that could be flying across much of the area. So again, future radar, we do expect those storms to continue over the next several hours or so. So by midnight or about 1 a.m. here, we expect those storms to extend along the line from about far northeastern Mississippi, or I should say far northeastern Louisiana, through about northwestern Alabama, where there could potentially be the chance of some further severe storms. And again, an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out throughout the rest of the night here. And again, those will clear up really nicely as we get into your Saturday. So after tonight's weather, we should be clearing up very beautifully tomorrow with that sunshine coming out, as we do have actually the chance for some severe weather here locally across Tallahassee with that marginal risk, that 1 out of 5 risk here, which extends from about the Panhandle of Florida, Big Bend coastline up through about the North Carolina, South Carolina border, where there could perhaps be a very isolated tornado or severe thunderstorm or two. there within that marginal risk. So again, if you're in the Tallahassee area, you do need to watch out perhaps for a few isolated stronger storms tomorrow. So again, we do have that stronger storms that are continuing throughout the rest of the evening tonight, as we do see on radar here with that tornado. They're just, or actually it looks like it just expired here, the tornado that is just off towards the south of Forest, Mississippi there. And however, do be prepared though, because even though it did produce a tornado once, perhaps it could produce it again. So we could still see a tornado warning come out of this storm before this storm is over with. But this storm is moving off towards the northeast across Interstate 20 as well as U.S. Route 80. So again, if you're anywhere between Newton and, Newton and Palachi there, do take precautions because this storm has had a history of potentially producing a tornado. So do watch out and take precautions, especially if you're in Forest there, as it could be very dangerous. And again, we do have a new tornado warning perhaps. So if we can actually go to that new tornado warning up near Mississippi or okay, just north of Tennessee there, or sorry, just north of Memphis, moving into Tennessee across the Mississippi River there. So if you're north of Gift Edge or just south of Chickwasaga there is a possible tornado on the ground there along this line, this kink in the line here as you see right there. That potentially could be some rotating winds and also indicating perhaps a tornado warning storm there. So again, this is north of Gift Edge near Osceola, that is moving just off of Interstate 55. See that hook right there? That's that signature where we could perhaps see some rotating winds around in this system, in this storm perhaps. And again, this is moving off towards the northeast. So if you're in Osceola right now, or Ashport, you need to go to an interior portions of whatever structure you're at currently right now, as this there potentially could be a storm or a tornado on the ground here. So if we, at least with our track here, we can see that it's supposed to move through Gold Dust by about 8:09 p.m., at least in 8:09 p.m. here, Ashport by 8:38 p.m., and then over towards, at least further off towards the northeast there as it continues off in that line there. So this also does extend here into Ripley, Tennessee, so along U.S. Route 51 there also is in the tornado warning as well. So velocity does show perhaps a little bit of a couplet there. It's what we call meteorology, where we could see the winds that are moving very parallel to one another, very closely to each other there, just south of Osceola. So if there is a tornado on the ground, it's going to be right here. But again, that doesn't matter. There's a tornado warning right now, so you need to take precautions if you're in Osceola or Ashport and go to an interior portion of whatever structure or building you're at. Right there where we circle is where we do have that potential rotation, that potential tornado could be on the ground just along U.S. Route 61, moving off towards the northeast there. So again, Ashport, Osceola, any towns in between here do have the potential for seeing this tornado going through the area. So do take precautions as well. That extends further off towards just north of Ripley along U.S. Route 51 as well, and just off towards the west of Gates. If we can, the CC here. So I don't particularly see any signature that could indicate a tornado, except perhaps right there, but it's not confirmed yet. So we'll have to watch that over the next coming several minutes or so as we get more scans. But again, this tornado could potentially be located just off to the south of Osceola. So if you're in Osceola, Ashport, over towards the northeast here near Ripley, you need to take precautions right now, as there could be a potential tornado on the ground. So if we zoom out a little bit further out here, we can look at the broader view here of these storms that are impacting across the southeast. We have that very strong line extending from just off to the far northwestern portions of Mississippi, all the way through about southern Missouri, the little, I guess you would call it the boot here of Missouri, where we do have the potential for these damaging, perhaps spin-up tornadoes, and also the severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for actually almost the entire line here, from about just northwestern portions of Mississippi all the way up through about the Missouri regions. So zooming out a bit further, we do see the general overall system here that's affecting our area, so extending from about Illinois all the way through here Louisiana, where they do have the potential for seeing that severe weather today, the severe weather threat, and that will continue to impose the threat across at least across much of the rest of the night tonight. And so again, we have those current 2 tornado warnings in effect for at least here across just north of Memphis and also down further into Mississippi. So if we can actually, can you put velocity back up again here for this tornado warning storm? Okay, so I don't see very much has changed from the last scan. However, it looks like if there is a tornado, it's going to be right here, just crossing Interstate 6 or U.S. Route 61 here, just barely to the south of Osceola. So essentially on Osceola. And if we put that that track on there, you could see that at 7:27 p.m. Sans Souchy there, could potentially see that tornado here. So just right now on that doorstep. So again, if you're anywhere here within this tornado warning storm, do take precautions. Again, Ashport at 8:36, at 9:25 Barfield, and also at 9:55 Huffman, and then lastly 11:16 in Folks there. However, again, this is a tornado warning storm, so don't go outside. Don't try and look for this tornado. This actually looks like it is rain wrapped just south of Osceola. You do not want to be out there looking any elements for this tornado. This tornado could potentially be on the ground here along U.S. Route 61 near Osceola. And I don't see a clear correlation coefficient scan here to indicate that there is any damage or any debris that's being lofted up by the tornado. But again, that doesn't mean you should let your guard down. Anywhere within this tornado box polygon could be where that tornado could go. So if we actually go a bit further south towards that other tornado warning near Mississippi, to see at least the storm there. So there's the other tornado warning storm we were covering earlier that looks like I don't see a clear CC scan, but at least on reflectivity, it is, a pretty strong and powerful storm there with that, looks like a little bit of a hook feature there. Not well defined, but again, the scan is coming back with that perhaps very strong input there from perhaps very heavy rain, if not even hail potentially in these upper level portions of the clouds there, then that could make it down to the ground. So again, that was the other threat we have tonight, would be the hail. And that continues off towards the northeast, towards Cleveland. So again, if you're in Cleveland, just south of Shelby, you want to make sure you go to the interior portion of a structure of that or a building. It looks like we actually do have a pretty good scan here on velocity where there could be a tornado right there, that rotation right there. Here, just to the southeast of Cleveland and moving up towards Cleveland, and at least along, I believe that's U.S. This U.S. route here, near at least going through Cleveland and Shelby. So if you're anywhere, Cleveland, Shelby, or any town just off to the southeast of this tornado of Cleveland there, you want to make sure you get to an interior portion of that building. Again, that CC scan perhaps could show perhaps some debris coming up that are on radar here, but for overall. Again, make sure you go to the interior portion of a structure there, as we could potentially be seeing the threat of a tornado there. And we also have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for across much of the area too, along that line, where we could potentially be seeing damaging winds, some hail extending along that line as well. So if we go here towards as we actually go a bit further to the north, if you don't mind, so I can look at the overall. Okay. And switch it back over to reflectivity as well. Yeah, so there is that strong line that I was mentioning just now. Again, from Gillette towards Pine Bluff and towards the north and the east, extending all the way towards Memphis is where we have those very strong storms, perhaps. And again, that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for the Memphis area here. And again, I'll step off camera here to show the entire view there of radar there, where we have those very strong storms affecting across much of the southeast there. So again, Memphis is underneath that tornado or a severe thunderstorm warning, as well as a tornado warning just off to the north of Memphis there. So again, if you're anywhere within that area, you want to make sure you take precautions. Go to the interior portion of your structure or building. If you have a basement, go there, that's preferred. If not, then go to the lowest level, so level 1 in your structure. Go to an interior hallway and go to an interior bathroom, where it is the safest place to be in the event that an active tornado does go through your area.
Thank you so much, Sharon. So yeah, taking a look at radar, we are seeing quite a bit of storms moving through. This is off the low rock radar here. We're taking a look at reflectivity. We've got strong storms moving all throughout the area. Is that severe thunderstorm warnings all underneath this, or is this a watch? I know we have the tornado warnings to the south here. We have one near Shelby here. Well, this whole line of storms, severe thunderstorm warning up here near Memphis. Let's take a look at that severe thunderstorm warning really quick. I want to see a little bit more information about why that's a severe thunderstorm warning. So if you're within the central Memphis area, that's where we're going to be seeing this severe thunderstorm warning. And that's where if we've got some strong winds, possibility for some hail. That's why that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. And that's going to be going until what time? 7:45. So about another 20 more minutes on this severe thunderstorm warning for Memphis. And can we put on velocity product and see what the winds are doing inside the storm? So we've got this strong line of winds moving and working its way through the Memphis area. So if you live around Memphis, new severe thunderstorm warning looks like just up to northeast or to the north as well. We've got this strong surge of winds that are caused by these thunderstorms, and this is what's kind of the high end of the risk for today. We've got the level 4 out of 5 risk for strong to severe storms today, and the reason is, in particular, for those strong winds. We saw the graphic a little bit earlier explaining, what the highest risks were, and we saw the risk for tornadoes. We're seeing the risk for hail, but the risk for strong winds as well is present with these thunderstorms. So if we can switch back to a tornado warning and get on that real quick. We've got a tornado warning just up to the northeast. This is the one we've been keeping our eye on here in Arkansas, just to the east of Osceola, east of I-55. And it's going to be working its way up to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour, I believe. So if you live anywhere within this red box, so you're going to want to be taking your tornado precautions, getting to the lowest floor away from windows. And again, the storm working its way up to the northeast. Can we switch on to velocity product? So taking a look at what the winds are doing inside these storms, Doppler radar can detect which way winds are going within a thunderstorm. So we've got this little area right here is where we're going to be seeing that chance for a possible tornado. I don't believe they've confirmed it, and it's probably just radar indicated. And it's moving off to the northeast pretty quickly, working its way towards Highway 51 here in the next probably half hour to an hour. And it's going to be crossing the line. Well, that is pretty interesting. I don't believe that it's going to be debris, but I think that's kind of interesting seeing. Yeah, so it's going to be hail. Again, this storm, tornado warned, but a tornado is not the only possibility. Even if this storm is not producing a tornado, you've still got that chance for strong winds, and now we're seeing on correlation coefficient, what seems to be some decent-sized hail along with this thunderstorm. If we can go back to other tornado warning I believe we have in Mississippi, that'd be great. We've got this whole line of storms that's working its way through the south, and it's going to be coming our way tomorrow. For us here in Tallahassee, it's going to be kind of a rainy day, especially as we get into the afternoon, and the chance for severe weather is going to be around. So we've got this storm out near Cleveland, so if you're in the town of Cleveland, south of Shelby, you're going to be taking your tornado precautions. This tornado warning probably going for about the next 15 minutes. And we're seeing these, where we've got these darker shades of red and purple is where we're going to be seeing the possibility for some larger hail. And with these, all these storms are having a decent chance of hail and some stronger winds. So I'm going to step off and switch over to velocity product real quick. And I want to see what these storms are doing within. Yeah, we've definitely got this area right here I'm circling. This is where the possibility is to have some stronger winds, but we also have the possibility for rotations. So again, we've got this little couplet here is going to be working its way off towards Cleveland, and that's where we're going to be seeing that possibility for the tornado. I don't believe this tornado warning has been confirmed, but again, this threat for a tornado exists. So if you're in the town of Cleveland, definitely be taking your tornado precautions. We've got 32-mile-per-hour winds associated with this storm, at least from what I picked up on radar on that click. This warning is going to be going until 8 o'clock, so another 30 minutes. And again, this tornado warning is radar indicated. I'm going to zoom out and take a look at what the whole region is looking like, because all along this line of, or all along this cold front, we've got a strong line of weather. And we've got severe thunderstorm watches extending from Tennessee down through Mississippi into Louisiana, and we also have a tornado watch. The the meat of the tornado watch right now being within this Arkansas boot heel, I believe, as Aaron said it. Now I'm going to pass off to Robert for a look at the setup.
Right, exactly. So here's the setup here on our severe weather radar. We see tornado watches, tornado warnings, and even a few flash flood watches to spare here, as well as a severe thunderstorm warning. So we have this line all the way basically across the Mississippi River right now. A few areas that we're concerned about, we have this tornado warning up here, basically at the intersection where you have Arkansas, Missouri, and Tennessee. And we also have this tornado warning as well, just east of Arkansas. Now it's made its way into Mississippi. So we have these two tornado warning storms, as well as one now east of Jackson that had produced a tornado warning earlier that we are continuing to watch. So if we could zoom in on this top tornado warning up here, and we'll just take things down the line if we can. So this is our first storm here. It's just east of Osceola, south of Chickasaba, and we have west of Ripley here. And here are some important interstates for you to know for this radar right here. Interstate 55, US 61, and then US 51 as well over here close to Ripley. So if you're anywhere between these highways here, if you're east of 55 and 61 and you're west of 51, that's where you need to be taking cover. We need you to be inside this lowest level interior room from this storm here. And you can see right here looking at the radar, we have an area of circulation that we're watching. It's right about this area. You see this notch right here? Well, we try to look for notches on storms because this is what it symbolizes strong inflow winds. What we mean by that is winds flowing into the storm. What you can get from those strong inflow winds is a lot of rotation that develops because of that strong inflow. So again, we've already highlighted this area because it has a high potential of having that character, and the National Weather Service has as well with this tornado warning. So if we could switch to velocity real quick, I'll demonstrate what we mean by circulation. So I already explained a little bit earlier, but green is winds that are going away from the radar site. They're going in the direction away, and reds are in the direction that's going towards. So right now we're watching this tornado warning because it has the potential for that circulation as well. I'm going to check my system here just to get the current details on that warning here. Again, we have right now for until 9 o'clock p.m., I believe, for this storm. It's just east of Osceola. And excuse me, it's until 9 o'clock p.m., correct. And it remains into effect right here. We have this area of circulation that we're watching, and we have these highways here. So I just want to name some highways for you if you are in the area affected by this storm. So Ashport, you need to be inside that lowest level interior room right now. This looks like an area of circulation just north of you, basically about to cross the Mississippi River here within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Could we zoom in a little bit closer to that area of circulation? I want to name some roads with that as well. So we have Arkansas 120, US 61. If you are east of 61 and north of Arkansas 120, that looks like it is an area of circulation you need to be going inside. We say earlier, lowest level interior room. What we mean by that is inside your house or building, we want you to put as much space between you and the tornado as possible. So just make sure you're putting as many walls and as many rooms between you and the outside world as possible. That's why we say lowest level. So if you happen to have a basement, that's best. But if you don't, first floor is good enough. And go to the center of that building where you have a closet or a bathroom is best. But if you have to go to a hallway, that will still work. So go there if you are in that area. Again, Ashport, northeast of Luxora, and then here's US 55. So this is our first tornado warning we're watching. Let's now go a little bit south towards the Memphis area. We don't have any immediate tornado warnings for the Memphis area, but we are still worried about some straight line winds that are a damaging threat with this line of storms right here. And you can really see these darker greens. That's where we have those higher wind speeds. And you're really going to feel the punch here in Memphis. Wind speeds that are up to 60 miles per hour, even higher in some cases. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but what 60 miles per hour means is, imagine you're driving on the interstate. You have your hand outside the window. What you feel when your hand is hitting the wind, that's what it feels like when you're going through a storm like this. So it is damaging wind and can even be equivalent to a weak tornado in some cases. So that's why we know that tornadoes are a damaging threat, and we will absolutely cover those tonight. That is a major focus of our coverage. But we're still focusing on these severe thunderstorm warnings, as even though they aren't quite the buzzword as tornado, they can still be just as damaging. And you can really see this dark winds here. This is the leading edge of that storm as it goes towards Memphis. It is going to be getting close to the center of the city here within the next few minutes. So Memphis, you need to be inside your lowest level interior room as well. I know I said that for tornadoes, but damaging winds, you really want to take the same precautions if you can because of how damaging they are. So here's the track for it. We're looking for 70:39 for that arrival time in Memphis. This is local time. So our clock up here is for studios in Tallahassee. That's Eastern time, but all these are local for Central time. So 7:39 p.m. Memphis. We're also watching for the chance for Barlett, going to be around 7:42. Germantown, 7:49. Colleyville, 7:56, and 8:02 for Oakland. So this whole line of storms is making its way off towards the north and east here. So eventually, those of you outside the outer loop here, Interstate 269, will feel this a little bit later. But right now, the immediate focus is for those of you in Memphis. Immediate focus. So if you're in the city of Memphis and you're listening to this broadcast, or you're listening to a broadcast from your local news media, you need to be inside your house right now. You don't want to be outside. And most importantly, you don't want to be in a mobile home and you don't want to be driving. If you're in a mobile home and you have a sturdy structure you can get to within the next 15 to 20 seconds, go there now, because a mobile home, even for damaging winds, but particularly for tornadoes, is not a place you want to be. Also, if you're on the highway, you don't want to be driving during this. Blinding rain, thunder, and lightning, and high winds will make it very impossible to drive, and you don't want to be under an overpass. I know there's a little bit of a myth out there. When you're driving on the highway, if a tornado is coming or a strong storm is coming, just get under the overpass, particularly if hail is coming. I know I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We see large hail, and we see this happen a lot whenever large hailstorms come through. That's not safe. It seems intuitive, just get under the overpass, but it's actually not safe because it can create a wind tunnel effect, and that is very, very dangerous conditions. So you do not want to be under an overpass. Your best situation, if you're getting through a storm, you're out on the road, you want to be pulling off, going to a nearby building, a gas station, just anything where you can get to a sturdy structure away from the storm. So again, here in Memphis, heed those warnings and get inside. You don't want to be outside when this storm is blowing through. All right, let's get further south with this line here. And let's talk about this storm, which has been a problem for the last 30 minutes to an hour now, as it was originally in Arkansas, and now it's making its way eastward into Mississippi. So we have this warning here. It includes the cities of Cleveland and just south of Shelby and north of Shaw. US 278, this area, if you're driving on US 278 and you are south of Shaw or north of Shelby, you want to be pulling off the road now because you don't want to be caught in this storm. It looks like the area of circulation is basically almost over the city of Cleveland right now. If we could go to velocity and confirm that. It's the unfortunate part about this location is it is a little further from those radar sites, so it's a little harder to detect tornadoes closer to the ground, but we do see a very clear area of circulation right over the city of Cleveland. So I've already said it tonight, but make sure you're in that lowest level interior room or basement right now in the city of Cleveland. This is an immediate threat for you. It's basically on top of you. So if that is a tornado, which very well could be, we want you to be inside that lowest level interior room right now, at immediate notice. Right in front of you, Drew, US 49 West, Ruleville, that you're on notice. If you are in those cities, you should take those precautions now too, because it is a defined area of circulation. It's about to leave this warning, but there's a very good chance they could extend it if this continues to be as prominent as it was. But again, city of Cleveland, south of Marigold, US 278, that's immediate threat right on top of you. We want you to be taking those precautions. And we're telling you all this. We don't want you to be worried. We're just trying to make sure you're prepared for these storms as they make their way through. And we're going to highlight cities where we have the most immediate threat, including the city of Cleveland, Mississippi. So Cleveland, Mississippi, 7:40 p.m., 7:47 p.m. at Dockery, 7:52 at Ruleville, 8:03 at Webb, and 8:08 at Glendora. This storm, like most of the storms tonight, will be moving off towards the north and east. So as it continues in that direction, and we have an extension of the tornado warning. So if we could just clear this off and zoom back into that area, I believe it is the US 49 West region. Cleveland, again, that circulation right there. Dockery, Drew, Ruleville. Ruleville is just north of you, but I want you to just get inside that lowest level interior room now, because it's better to be safe than sorry. You're right on that line there, and these circulations can jog a little bit. But immediate threat is Drew and north on 49 West. It could make its way off towards the north and east. Drew, this is an immediate threat for you. Get to that safe space now. Make sure your family and your friends and pets are all there. You don't want to leave anyone out from that warning. Go to that safe space now. Make sure you also, another important thing I want to mention If you know any family and friends that don't live with you and may not know there's a severe weather threat tonight, just text them, give them a heads up, let them know there could be a severe weather threat because not everyone knows ahead of time, and we want to make sure everyone gets that warning as much as possible. So again, Drew, Cleveland, we need you to be in those lowest level interior rooms right now. You are in a tornado warning, which the difference between a watch and a warning means watch conditions are possible for a tornado, but we don't know if there's one immediately happening. Tornado warning is it's go time. We know there's either a tornado happening or we're 99% there. We need you to make sure that you are in that lowest level interior room. So that's the difference. Cleveland and Drew, go inside those lowest level interior rooms right now. I keep repeating that 3-word phrase because it's very important that you know. Lowest level interior. Make sure you're at the lowest level and as close to the center as possible. Put as much space between you and that tornado. All right, let's zoom out again, see the state of play for all the storms here, and really see what we're looking at for this severe weather threat. We also have a few other cells that we haven't quite covered yet. We have one close to the Louisiana-Mississippi border, and this one is just northeast of Jackson, or northwest of Jackson, excuse me, my apologies. Lake Providence, you are right in the middle of the storm. No immediate tornado threat, but let's check on velocity real quick and see what the nature of this storm is. Seeing a little bit of broad rotation right now, not an immediate tornado threat, but just something to keep your eyes on if you're in Lake Providence. Wouldn't be a bad idea to just take cover right now just in case. Anywhere in this area, Lake Providence, if we could zoom up just a little bit to see Myersville as well, in that severe thunderstorm warning. So just something to keep in mind. If we could zoom back out and go to that storm, there's also one in Mississippi, just a little southeast of Jackson as well. We're following that severe thunderstorm warning that is in southeast of Jackson. And this one is, let me check my system up here, where that severe thunderstorm warning is southeast of Jackson. And it is, excuse me. Yes. Yeah, so if we could zoom out just a little bit further, I believe there's one, unless I am mistaken, that there is one over here. Oh, yes, just directly east of Jackson. If we could zoom into that one on Interstate 20, that is the continuation of this storm that we've been following over the last 30 minutes or so. It continues on I-20, so if you are on I-20, you're just traveling, you're going from Birmingham to Jackson, you're going from Jackson to Birmingham, or Meridian, anywhere in there, you need to be pulling off the road. You don't want to be stuck, not just in this storm, but we're watching a line of storms and storms out ahead of that line that could form. So I want you to pull off. It looks like this storm has moved outside the warning, so no immediate threat for those of you on I-20, but we still want you to make sure that now is not really a good time to be driving. This is a moderate risk severe weather threat, high chance for damaging winds, hail, and possibly even tornadoes. So just pull off, get yourself a hotel, and wait through the night. Or if you're driving home, just wait somewhere before these storms pass and then get home later tonight. It's better just to wait and let these storms pass than try and drive through them because that's dangerous conditions with those high winds and heavy rain, possibly even tornadoes as well. So again, this storm has moved out of the severe thunderstorm warning. Possibly they could issue a new one for this one, but not certain because it looks like it is a little bit weaker on the radar presentation. So not an immediate threat for us, but those of you in Union will be seeing heavy rain soon and gusty winds. So right here here's the setup. Let's actually just zoom out a little bit more so we can really explain what's going on here. So we have a front, which is bringing this line of storms. It is now east of Arkansas. So here's this line of storms across the Mississippi River. And this is the line. But ahead of this line, we have a few smaller storms in the Mississippi area right now. We have two distinct threats with this storm system. These smaller storms ahead of this line have your supercellular threat. Basically, those are very intense storms. They're very small and discrete, and they pack a punch with your greatest violent tornado threat. With this line back here, that's more of what we call a quasi-linear convective system threat. That's a lot of fancy words. Basically what it means is it is a big, long storm, and because of the way it's constructed in a big, long way, it means that it has a less chance of violent tornadoes because the storms can't really get organized well enough for that, but it still can have discrete tornadoes anywhere embedded within the line. So we have two distinct tornadic threats that we're watching over the next few hours as this severe weather threat continues over the next rest of the night here. We have an extension of that tornado warning now in northern Mississippi, and if we could go zoom into that here in a second, but we are continuing to follow all of these storms here. We have that one north of Memphis. It looks like that tornado warning has expired, but the important thing to emphasize with all of these storms is here that within this entire line, the problem is many of these tornadoes can spin up very quickly. That's why we're broadcasting for all of you, because we want you to be informed, and many of these tornadoes can happen with a moment's notice. So it's not like you can go outside and see the tornado coming. We really advise you don't do that. Just stay indoors and wait for the warning, because the Weather Service is really good about issuing warnings to give you some lead time before the tornado gets there. So just to give you the state of play here, here is the southeast satellite radar. This is our main line of storms. You can see a few out ahead of it, including one storm on that line in Louisiana, Mississippi that just got a new tornado warning on it as well. So we'll check back with that in a few minutes. But here is the satellite and radar. And the really important thing here is that this is a very wide-ranging storm system as well. So even if you're not in the immediate risk area affected, you could be up in St. Louis and you're still feeling the chance of heavy rain and possibly even flash flooding. So this is a very dynamic weather event that we're watching here develop over the southeast, and that's what we really see this time of year in this part of the nation. Is unfortunately these systems really are able to get going and pose that chance for a intense severe weather threat. So Mississippi, Louisiana, Mississippi, that triple point between Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas, also called Ark-La-Miss by some in the area, that area is under an immediate threat by a tornado warning that has just been issued by the National Weather Service. And also that area, yes, right here, Lake Providence, tornado warning just issued for you over the last few hours, or last few minutes, excuse me. Lake Providence, you can see this red box right here, Myersville, this tornado warning has just been issued. So we've already gone through it with other places like Providence and Myersville. We want you to be inside that lowest level interior room. Be inside as much space from the outside as you can possibly get, and take your family and your friends there inside a closet or interior room where you can go to be safe from this potential tornadic storm. It looks like we might have a little bit of a notch here with a little bit of circulation. If we can maybe check on velocity, if that's possible, to see if there is an area over here where we are watching that. We saw earlier there was an area of circulation we were worried about, and it looks like that has really started to drum up there over Lake Providence. US 65, and here this black line is the state border, also the Mississippi border, Mississippi River, excuse me. That right there, it looks like that area of circulation. So where those reds and greens meet, what we're seeing is away and towards the radar. So we have towards the radar here on this greens going this direction, and reds going away from the radar, that direction. That forms that circulation you're watching right there as these winds go back and forth just south of Lake Providence. So it's really important. Lake Providence and Myersville, you're immediately going inside those lowest level interior rooms because this is a discrete threat and it is immediately going for your area at the moment. So we have this one for East Carroll Parish in Louisiana, and it also includes parts of Mississippi. It goes until 8:45 p.m. Central Time, 8:45 p.m. Central Time. So we also have a few more tornado warnings we're also following. We have a few just north of Memphis that we're also following as well. These have just been issued not south of Memphis, north of this storm is what I was trying to say. And now sort of you see this line of tornado warnings that you're seeing because this is what we like to call a long-tracked storm or long-tracked, potentially, if it does verify to be a tornado, long-track tornado, but it's a long-track storm. We saw all the way back in Arkansas, and you see these 3 tornado warnings stacked on top of each other just because this storm is moving, and they're trying to issue warnings to give people lead time ahead of it. So that's where that storm is. It's tracking south of Memphis. No threat to the Memphis area from this storm, but we do have an immediate threat to the Memphis area from those strong damaging winds from that line of storms. So we have, again, also Jackson, no immediate threat for you as well. We're not really worried about you right now, but we could have that line of storms that could come through later. So make sure you are on guard and continuing to watch for this threat. And we also have a few more tornado warnings with those storms just north of Greenville, north of Greenwood, and we also had a tornado warning by Lake Providence. These storms are watching out ahead of this line because they do have the chance for those discrete tornado possibilities, but fortunately none have been issued as of that moment. So right now, again, this state of play here, we have storms out ahead of that line, storms right along the Mississippi River posing that threat for tornadic storms, and finally also straight line winds. Important that you're taking that into precaution if you're in the Memphis area or if you're anywhere along the Mississippi River where this line is currently taking effect.
That's right, and as Robert just mentioned, again, it's not just tornadoes that are going to be the biggest threat here. It's going to be those straight line winds, that hail potentially that could be affecting much of the area here because, of course, we have that setup there with those tornadoes that are possible. This is overall severe weather threat across much of the southeast there. So again, that bullseye there across the Mississippi area there, Louisiana, Arkansas, where they're underneath that moderate risk, so that level 4 out of 5 potential for severe weather. And again, that's really, there's not just tornadoes, it's also damaging winds, those straight line winds from those QLCS systems that we have with those straight lines there along the linear pattern of those thunderstorms. We also do have potential for those tornadoes at least along discrete supercells ahead of the line, the main line there. And we've seen a few of those here, at least a few tornado warnings here tonight. But again, that main threat is going to be around the moderate risk here. So Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana, that has the potential for seeing the greatest chance of severe weather. So the biggest two, at least the biggest two greatest risks for severe weather, I should say threats, are going to be those high winds there. So we have a pretty, at least almost a high chance of seeing winds up to 60 miles per hour. We've seen several severe thunderstorm warnings across the night tonight there, especially across the Memphis area. We also do have tornadoes as well that are possible. We had a few tornado warnings as well across much of the northwestern Mississippi into Tennessee, and also down through about Arkansas and Louisiana. Again, hail up to about 1 inch or so. That's about this big here. And that is possible, and it could damage windows, cars perhaps as well, or anything outside. So you do not want to be outside for any of this. And that's, again, it doesn't take a tornado warning for it, at least for you to take precautions. Even a severe thunderstorm warning could produce up to 1 inch hail possible here across the Tennessee and Mississippi River valleys there. So again, you don't want to be hit and struck by these at least these hail-sized ice pellets, basically, falling from the sky. That can at least cause some really serious injury to many people. And then again, flooding is also possible. There could be some localized flooding in these areas where perhaps we could see some training of these thunderstorms, at least from west to east. So again, we do have the instability on tap here, and that's the reason why these thunderstorms are starting to get going now. After the sun is set now, at least we do still have a lot of energy up in the atmosphere. That's what's going to allow for these storms to start to bubble up here. I don't think at least a lot more are going to start to be produced as we get throughout at least past midnight or so, as we do have the amount of energy, that radiation here in the atmosphere is going to start to lower there. And we're probably going to see less and less thunderstorms, less and less severe thunderstorms. But again, there could still be perhaps a severe thunderstorm or two near the Birmingham area as we get to about 1 or 2 or around 3 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Central there tonight into tomorrow morning. So again, you want to make sure you keep that no weather radio there next to you, or even that cell phone too. Your cell phone can produce those emergency alerts as well, and make sure you turn that ringer on as well. That way, they can at least blare out and wake you up in the event of a tornado warning is affected for your immediate area. And again, that is at least those storms could be fired up anywhere between even New Orleans as well. I mean, the best chance is probably going to be closer to northern Alabama, northern Mississippi. But again, New Orleans, even out of the moderate risk, can still see a strong storm or two as well. And the other factor here as to why we do have the stronger storms is also because we have that tornado risk due to the wind shear. So we have those southerly winds near the surface, and we also have those westerly winds behind the front and along the jet stream there. What that's doing is allowing at least very efficient rotation in the atmosphere for these at least for these storms to rotate and begin to actually extend to the ground. And what happens is if that column extends all the way down to the ground, that's what we call a tornado. And those are very damaging, of course, as we all know. And we've had several tornado warnings across the night here, across much of the southeast. And the greater setup here is we have that area of low pressures begin to dig down here across the Mississippi Valley as well, and dragging that cold from behind it. So again, if you're back behind across the northern Texas, over into Oklahoma and Kansas, the severe weather threat is over right now. And even portions of far western Arkansas and far northwestern Louisiana also are starting to at least reduce the chance of seeing that severe weather, as the instability is staying up ahead of that cold front. And what that cold front is doing, it's actually pushing up the air. And that's what's also helping and aiding these thunderstorms to pop up and bubble up, as you see here on that water vapor with these blues, those oranges, which indicate the very cold air cloud top. So these thunderstorms are reaching upwards of 60,000 feet potentially up in the air, 30,000 to 60,000 feet in the air, which is very tall for a thunderstorm. And again, that's the other reason why we have hail, because the taller the thunderstorm is, the colder the updraft, or at least the colder layer that the updraft will get into, and the potential there could be for some hail to then fall down to the ground. So tornado safety, again, if you are underneath a tornado warning, you want to make sure you go to an interior portion of the structure you're at. So this is the first level. So the hallway, a bathroom without a window, or even a closet or staircase is also acceptable too in the event of a tornado warning. And again, you want to avoid those windows, those doors, those outside walls, as they could potentially be the weakest point in your structure. You also, if you could as well, try and find something to cover yourself up, like perhaps in your bathroom, perhaps a mattress or a helmet could also help potentially save from further injury as well. So again, if you do have a basement, that would be the best place to go to. However, several homes across the Southeast may not have basements, and so the next best place to go to will be out in the hallway and bathroom. And also, extending to mobile homes. If you are in a mobile home, you want to make sure you go to, if you can, go to a structure, a more secure structure that is grounded to the ground, of course, because a mobile home is not very secure, not very safe, and could easily become very damaged from even a weak tornado as well. So again, you do not want to be in a mobile home or any structure that is not very structurally sound, at least during a tornado. And again, those thunderstorms are going to continue off throughout the rest of the night here in the early morning hours. So this is about 2 a.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Central there with that line of storms extending from about Nashville, Tennessee, Central Tennessee or so, over down towards through northwestern Alabama, through about central Mississippi, and that line also dangling down towards about the New Orleans area in the Gulf Coast. Again, the greater threat tonight will perhaps still stay off to the north across the Alabama area, so Huntsville, Tupelo as well, they could potentially be getting in on some of the action. Again, not as strong as perhaps we're seeing right now with that moderate risk across the at least far eastern or far western portions of Mississippi, but for the most part, it's going to stay perhaps again, chance could be for an isolated severe thunderstorm warning or two, or tornado warning or two as well across the rest of the night here across the Southeast. But again, tomorrow it will clear things out, and then that line of storms does extend closer towards the Panhandle and Big Bend of Florida, where we could perhaps see a marginal risk of severe weather, that 1 out of 5 chance of severe weather. That extends from about Tallahassee all the way towards about Columbia, South Carolina, where there could perhaps be an isolated shower, or I'm sorry, I should say an isolated severe thunderstorm warning or two, or tornado warning or two as well. So again, if you're anywhere in these areas, again, across Tallahassee, you do need to keep your guard on, as we could perhaps see an isolated severe event. So to go back towards radar here, we see these tornado warnings in effect from about central and northern Mississippi. So if we actually zoom in on this one, yeah, right here on the southern, at least the southern tornado warning there. Yeah, right.
I think is most impressive is if we switch the velocity real quick, I think it's got the highest chance of the storms that are currently tornado warned of right now. Something you notice, I have like a dropout in the in the reflectivity value here, and then switching over to velocity, we have quite the couplet working itself, just spinning up.
That's right. So again, that will extend to near Lake Providence, extending upwards towards about the U.S. Route 49 west there, as Ryan has mentioned there, with that very strong signature there on velocity of the potential rotation there just off to the east of Lake Providence. So if you can actually zoom in a bit closer to Lake Providence to see if there's perhaps any debris that might be lofted in the air. It doesn't look, perhaps right here, might have to go through a few scans of that to see if it actually does verify. But right here, again, the strongest rotations occurring right here, just off to the south of Mayersville into the northwest of Cary, Mississippi. Again, this is all in Mississippi right now, at least with this severe thunder or this tornado warning. And it is also closely moving towards Rolling Fork, U.S. Route 61. Again, if you're anywhere within this polygon, which includes Rolling Fork, Cary, Mayersville, and even if you're Lake Providence as well, you still want to make sure you keep in that interior portions of your building, your structures, so your house, your office building, wherever you might be at, except for a mobile home. You want to make sure you stay away from a mobile home. Also, if you have friends or family that are at least live anywhere within this polygon here, or really anywhere across western Mississippi, you want to make sure you can at least stay in the interior portion of your room. What's that, Ryan?
They just confirmed this, and National Weather Service is saying this is a damaging tornado, life-threatening situation. Take shelter now. So this is now a confirmed tornado.
Okay, so just as Ryan has mentioned, this is a now confirmed tornado. Observed, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, this is an observed tornado here on the ground. So it means somebody has actually seen this on the ground. So we have confirmation by humans that this is a confirmed tornado that is currently on the ground and that is currently causing perhaps some that could potentially cause some damage if it goes anywhere in populated areas. So again, just south of Mayersville and off to the northwest of Cary is where we have that really strong rotation signature there across much, at least in that region. And again, this extends all the way up towards Rolling Fork, Angolia, and Delta City, where Rolling Fork potentially could see this tornado go through about 8:58 p.m. or so. Again, looking towards 9:29 p.m. as well. And then 10:04 Delta City as well. This tornado could go through. And actually, we might potentially be able to see perhaps a debris signature right there. At least it's not very strong, so it may not be. It could even be hail as well. But right here, just off to the east of Mayersville, where there could be potentially a tornado warning, or at least a tornado or actually there is a tornado on the ground, I should say. It's observed, moving off towards the north and east near Rolling Fork and U.S. Route 61. So again, the overall pattern here, I should say, across the southeast is going to continue to be with these severe thunderstorm warnings along that line that extends from really just to the north of near Tennessee all the way down to about Louisiana. And you can see several discrete cells ahead of it. This one actually was under tornado warning earlier. However, that has since expired as it now has moved off towards the north and the east now across U.S., or I should say across Interstate 20. Very weak signature on velocity there as it is further away from the radar near Jackson. But again, you still want to keep an eye on this one too, because it does have a history of producing some damaging, potentially some damaging winds and et cetera. So this tornado warning, again, back to Mayersville here, where we have that confirmed tornado on the ground. Right now, if you're in Rolling Fork, you need to get to an interior portion of your structure right now. Just go there. You need to be in a safe place there because, again, this is an observed tornado on the ground. And this is going straight for Rolling Fork. So again, even if you don't live there, you know somebody living perhaps in Rolling Fork, or even Louise, anywhere along U.S. Route 61, there is a potential that you could be impacted by this tornado that is confirmed on the ground. But again, the biggest part or the biggest place to go in the event of a tornado will be the interior portions of that house. So here is a little diagram, again, that we've been showing you all night of a house here. Again, you want to go to an interior hallway, bathroom, or closet if you do not have a basement in your house. That is the best place to go in the event of a tornado because you're further away from windows, any doors that might perhaps fail on you if the tornado actually does go over your house. So again, you do not want to be on the deck, kitchen, anywhere over there. You want to make sure you stay in the lowest portion of your structure as you possibly and humanly can. So again, the tornado warning with that very strong rotation signature just off to the southwest of Rolling Fork, moving to the northeast. So again, Rolling Fork is ground zero right now of where the storm is going to go. Again, along U.S. Route 61. This is a very serious situation as this is now observed on the ground, meaning that somebody has actually seen this storm. It is not just radar indicated. And again, Rolling Fork is ground zero here, but Cary as well should take precautions as they're just still very close to this rotation, and they are also included in that tornado polygon here. And that also extends all the way up to Louise as well. So if you're in Louise or anywhere just off to the northwest of Louise, you want to make sure you go to, again, follow the same advice I've been telling you here. We've all been telling you here on FSU Weather. Go to the most interior portions of whatever structure you're at. If it's a secure structure. So again, if you're in a mobile home, it's better to, at least if you have enough time, it's better to go out ahead of the storm and go to a more structured building or structure for that matter.
Aaron, I just saw on Twitter a picture of a big tornado on the ground west of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. So there is a picture of it. We've picked it up on correlation coefficient. We got quite the correlation coefficient dropout now. Aaron's pointing to.
Right.
This is going to be
right
knocking
here
on the door of Rolling Fork here in the next minute or so. So if you're in Rolling Fork, be taking your tornado precautions right now.
That's right. The CC drop, which basically measures the ratio of debris up in the atmosphere, does indicate that this is not particles in the atmosphere. This is a serious tornado. This is lofting debris up into the air. And as Ryan just mentioned, this is an emergency right now. So if you're in Rolling Fork, it is currently going through your town right now. So you need to be in interior structure right now, as this is a serious situation. A very large tornado is heard of, or at least is observed on the ground near Rolling Fork along U.S. Route 61. So Rolling Fork right now, you need to be in the interior portion of the house, but even places off to the northeast of that as well. So again, Louise, at least right now, you have the time to go to that interior portion of your structure right now. So go there as you are included in the tornado warning.
Yeah, as Darren mentioned, so this is the tornado right here. We have it right on radar. This is a tornado. This is a confirmed tornado right here near Rolling Fork. This white confirmed dangerous tornado. The National Weather Service does not issue a lot of tornado emergencies. We have tornado watches. We have tornado warnings. Tornado emergencies are the highest terminology that the National Weather Service can use to warn the public. And right now we have one in progress right near Rolling Fork. I just saw a picture a moment ago on Twitter of a confirmed large tornado that's going to be heading towards Rolling Fork here, probably already in Rolling Fork because the radar is a few minutes behind. And if we take a look at velocity, we've got quite the couplet moving over Rolling Fork right now. It's going to be working its way off to the northeast. So if you're in Luis, Belzoni, you're going to be the next ones under the gun here for this tornado warning. But regardless, this is now a confirmed tornado emergency that's going to be going until 9 o'clock Central Time. For Rolling Fork, you are just next under the gun, my friends. You're going to be seeing this tornado. If it's not already on your doorstep, this tornado is knocking on the door. Take cover now. The National Weather Service in Jackson said at 8:05 they have the tornado on the ground. That's going to be moving towards Rolling Fork, Mississippi here in the next few minutes. So again, right here, Aaron's putting the track on it. This whole line, if you are anywhere near Rolling Fork, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now. This storm is right on top of you. 8:07. Keep in mind, our clock is about an hour off because we are in the Eastern time zone. This is Central time. All right? So this storm is going to be moving to the northeast. Just take your tornado precautions. We're going to get through this, okay? It might get loud, it might get scary, but we're going to get through this, okay? You need to take your tornado precautions. So if we can get that best place to go graphic loaded up, that would be great. I just want to give the viewers another chance to see where they should be going in the event of a tornado warning. But again, this is what we're going to be looking at. This is going to be moving to the northeast here. So Luis, there's that graphic. So we've got a tornado on the ground like we have in this graphic. And where should I go, okay? Maybe you're home alone. Maybe you're saying, maybe you're a kid, maybe you're home alone, and you're saying, hey, where should I go for a tornado? Well, let's rule out all these exterior rooms, all right? The garage has a garage door that is a weak spot in the event of a tornado, okay? Bedroom, there's probably windows, all right? We want to go to a room that has no windows. So where's the best places to go? As interior as we can. If you've got a hallway, a lot of homes have a staircase, and a lot homes that have stairs will have like a closet underneath that staircase. That's where we want to go. If you do have a bathroom, get to the like an interior bathroom, get to it. If it may sound silly, put a bicycle helmet on. Put a mattress over top of you. This is a tornado that has been confirmed and is moving towards Rolling Fork and is a large, significant tornado, enough of a tornado for the National Weather Service to put a tornado emergency in, okay? So this is not a good situation right now. We've got a confirmed large tornado that's going to be heading towards the town of Grand Fork. And it goes along with the severe weather risk all day today. We've had that severe weather risk, level 4 out of 5 risk in place. And I'm seeing on Twitter now just pictures of a tornado confirmed going towards Rolling Fork. If we can get the correlation coefficient back up, that would be great. I'm just seeing Rolling Fork took a direct hit. So if you're in Rolling Fork and in areas northeast, hang up towards Luis, you need to be taking your tornado precautions on because this is a confirmed large, extremely dangerous tornado that's going to be heading towards the town of Rolling Fork. Again, correlation coefficient showing that dropout, velocity showing strong winds. So keep in mind, when we have the velocity product, we have winds moving towards the radar and winds moving away from the radar, all right? And when these two come together, that cause the radar can kind of pick up rotation. That's how we're able to issue these severe thunderstorm warnings. Now there's another product called correlation coefficient that is able to let us detect debris within these warnings. And when we see a white in this, right as we see near Rolling Fork, that's not a sign of rain, that's a sign of debris dropout. So this red is all rain, but where we start to see these different colors, especially this white, that's where we know we have our tornado Rolling Fork near Highway 61 that runs through Rolling Fork, Anguilla, just working off to northeast, there's the latest radar scan showing it just moved through Rolling Fork in the last few minutes. And again, tornado emergency going until 9 o'clock. That's the strongest terminology that the National Weather Service can use. It's called tornado emergency. It means that we know this tornado's on the ground, we know this tornado's causing damage, and we know that this is a strong tornado. A lot of tornadoes are generally very weak. We see EF0, EF1s, especially here in Florida. Now in the deep south and getting into plains, that's where we start to see these more strong tornadoes. And again, if we can switch back to velocity, I just want to show what the winds are doing within the storm. The brighter colors of red and green mean stronger winds, okay? So we've got these bright, bright greens next to these bright, bright reds, and when the reds and greens come together, that means that the storm is rotating, okay? And these rotating winds are what cause the tornado. So Mount Helena, Anguilla, this is along Highway 61 near Highway 14 and Rolling Fork. This is where we have a confirmed large tornado that's causing a tornado emergency. Oh my gosh, this tweet just broke my heart. This town has a lot of mobile homes. If you're in a mobile home, you cannot, unfortunately, mobile homes, a great inexpensive place to live, but unfortunately they're not built to handle wind. And if you are in a mobile home, maybe go to a friend's house tonight, maybe go to a family member's, maybe go to a gas station, just somewhere, a site-built structure that's strong. And I hope a lot of mobile home parks are putting in tornado shelters, so in case you have to get to somewhere in the event of severe weather, you can go to a shelter. But again, large wedge tornado on the ground. Reed Timmer is actually on this tornado as it's going through Rolling Fork. Reed, one of the country's top storm chasers, he's got a video of this storm here near Rolling Fork on the ground, and it's going to be moving northeast. We notice, what is the textbook definition of a supercell, okay? Well, it's called a hook echo, okay? And we've got the rain here, and then we've got winds kind of coming around, and it causes the curl. We've got inflow coming in from here, and that's kind of going to cause the storm to rotate. And again, we've got a strong, strong tornado emergency, and they just extended this tornado emergency until 9 o'clock tonight.
Include Belzoni and just off towards the northwest of Eden as well in Yazoo City.
All right, yeah, and this tornado emergency now, again, going until 9 o'clock Central Time. So this tornado emergency is going to be going on for about the next 45 minutes as it's working its way towards Luis, Belzoni, anywhere in this red polygon. Do you mind just turning the radar off completely so I can kind of let people get their bearings straight on, where's my house compared to, am I in this red box? If you are anywhere within this red box, I know it's a funky shape, but if you are anywhere within this red box, you're from Rolling Fork, Luis, Belzoni. Can we zoom in and see if we can get more town names to come up as well, and maybe even some road names? Highway 14, Anguilla, Ritchie, Nita Yuma, Delta City, Midnight, Silver City, and I believe it's State Highway 14. This is a tornado emergency, okay? This is the strongest terminology that the National Weather Service can use in warning the public of a tornado. And a tornado emergency, in short, means we have a confirmed tornado, massive tornado on the ground. Again, oh my goodness, just got another tweet of a tornado, and this is a large tornado, folks. If you live anywhere within this red polygon, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now because this tornado means business. This is a strong tornado going through area that has about 11,000 people live in this tornado emergency, and that's going to be going on until 9 o'clock tonight. Just looking through the latest on Twitter, again, lots of tweets about this tornado going through Mississippi. This is a strong, extremely dangerous tornado that's going to be going on until 9 o'clock. If we can throw correlation coefficient back up, power flashes in Anguilla, I'm not sure how that's pronounced. Regardless, you are under a tornado emergency, and we are now getting reports of power flashes. What is a power flash? Well, a power flash is when a strong gust of wind, or more likely in this case a tornado, has hit a transformer and caused that transformer to explode. And so an exploding transformer, especially at night, is visible, and we're able to use that as detection for a tornado. Again, correlation coefficient we're seeing right in here is where this confirmed extremely dangerous tornado is, and this warning is going until 9 o'clock Central Time. Again, just seeing tweets of this tornado. It's going to be in Delta City around 8:20, and I believe midnight around 8:30, Belzoni 8:40. If we can draw a storm track out, and I believe this tornado is moving at, not sure, but again, just kind of drawing out the box, we're able to see, where this tornado is going to be. And this isn't the only tornado warning in effect either. We've got that box behind us showing times. Murphy in the next few minutes, Golden Lake. This is going way out into the future, but again, even if you're not in a tornado warning right now, even if your phone hasn't gone off, you are close, a little too close for comfort for a tornado, confirmed tornado on the ground. If we can go a little bit to the north to the other tornado warning here in Mississippi. Now this one is a tornado warning. I'm looking to see if it's been confirmed. I'm not sure of that right now. This one has about another 12 minutes on it. And so this one's going to be going until about 8:30 local time. This one also has gusts up to 60 miles per hour and golf ball sized hail. This radar indicated rotation, so it's not been confirmed, but again, I'm not really seeing as much velocity-wise. It's more straight line winds, but look at the shades of these winds. Can we put a ping on that to see how strong these storms are going? And again, these storms are very, very strong, Aaron. I pray for the people in these tornadoes.
That's right. That's right. So again, these are very strong winds here as we're looking at velocity, which is the telltale sign of, at least if we see any rotation on radar here. So velocity is showing about 97 miles.
I think this radar is scanning at a pretty decent height.
Right. So again, 97 miles per hour. That is faster than freeway speed. That is faster than, as what Robert mentioned earlier with the analogy, sticking your hand out the window, or at least going down the freeway, the interstate. This is faster than that. This is 97 miles per hour.
And this storm also has quite the hail associated with it as well.
That's right, here just off towards the northeast of where potentially there could be that tornado right there, just off near Charleston where we see that pink. That means we have that very, very dense particles in the atmosphere. And what that would indicate is perhaps some hail or larger particles that are uplifted by, at least in the supercell there. But again, that's just off near Tutwiler there, just off to the north and west of, or I should say just off to the south and east of Tutwiler there, just about across into U.S. Route 49 east there. And also this, again, the storm extends further off towards the northeast as well. So again, Charleston perhaps could see that hail core right here.
I think the bigger threat with this storm is going to be the strong winds and hail. I don't see a lot of rotation within this storm, but again, I think the bigger threat with this storm as it approaches I-55 and Charleston, Grenada, is going to be that strong winds.
That's right. So right now, it looks like rotation is not very strong on radar. Again, this is a tornado-warned storm, so you do want to take shelter in the event that there is a tornado right now on the ground. But where there is definitely a tornado on the ground right now is this particular cell that looks a little bit less impressive, at least recent. Oh, I stand corrected. There on velocity, it looks actually, you still see the very light greens and the very light reds there, and that little notches out. That's where you potentially could see that tornado right now on the ground near, we're just passing Rolling Fork. And unfortunately, we did see some of that, some indication there could perhaps be some debris lofted up in the air, which would indicate that this tornado did go through some populated areas. And again, overall, this whole line of storms are going to be moving off towards the east there over the night tonight. Right now, most of them are situated, most of the storms, most of the severe weather is situated off towards the west of the I-55 corridor in central Mississippi. So as this line does begin to continue to move off towards the east, it will continue to perhaps spark a few severe thunderstorms along the way, as well as it does progress off towards the east. But again, right now, the biggest threat is going to stay off towards I-55 for over the next hour or two. And actually, it looks like they might have just issued a tornado warning
until,
to Water Valley.
It's going to be going until 9 o'clock Central Time now, so about another 40 minutes.
That's right. So it looks like they just extended the current tornado warning there near the Water Valley area, which includes portions of Interstate 55 as well. So again, if you are traveling or if you do have plans right now to travel up Interstate 55 right here between about Greenwood over towards near Water Valley there, you want to make sure you pull off to the side of the road because there could potentially be a tornado that's going to cross over the interstate right now. And at least I don't see a very well-defined signature on, at least for that particular cell. But
the problem
it could
here
be right
is,
here near Charleston, though.
The problem here is our radars are scanning at such height, especially with this tornado warning, that we can't get a clear look at one particular radar. We're switching back and forth between the Brandon, Mississippi radar and the Columbus, Mississippi radar, and we're not getting one clear look at this storm because both of them are scanning at height. Now, a radar beam shoots straight out, whereas, remember, the Earth is curved. So as the radar scans out, the straight beam is going higher and higher into the air.
That's right. So even though we might not see perhaps a good indication of rotation, as Ryan just mentioned just now, again, there could still be more surface rotation as well that could be more well defined, and they're just not great. You just can't have great radar coverage everywhere. It's pretty hard to do that. But again, at least the Weather Service has indicated they will extend that tornado warning until 9 p.m. Eastern or Central Time over the next 45 minutes or so through about Oxford and just off to the south of Batesville. So again, if you are traveling anywhere along I-55 from about Grenada all the way up towards about Batesville, this whole stretch of the freeway is currently under a tornado warning, and there could be a tornado that could pass right over the interstate. And of course, it's also nighttime as well. So that also adds a factor of that you might not be able to see the tornadoes actually coming towards you. And unfortunately, by the time you realize, it might be too late for that.
On this storm here in going through Anguilla now that just went through Rolling Fork, debris was lofted about 30,000 feet, which shows a very violent tornado.
That's right. So again, we had that CC drop earlier, which indicated lofted debris that was at least very far up in the atmosphere. And again, that could be 2x4s, that could be walls, that could be really anything from any structure that could have been lifted up very far up in the atmosphere, and that would indicate, and whatever the force would that be, and there would be a tornado that would do that. And again, we do have indication as well, and at least through velocity, that there could be at least very strong rotation still with this cell, again, which passed Grinding Fork about 15 minutes ago or so, and unfortunately looks like potentially could have costed some damage there. Yeah, but again, that continues off towards the northeast and is approaching Luis and Belzoni.
Just to put into comparison what 30,000 feet looks like, your average airliner flies between 33 and 40,000 feet. So this debris is almost getting up as high as airliners fly.
That's right, and again, you're talking about almost the very top of middle to almost the very top of the atmosphere. And it looks like actually there could still be deepening of that CC core coefficient or correlation coefficient here, just off to the west of Luis there. So again, this tornado is likely still on the ground, at least according to radar right now. And unfortunately, it looks like since this is a very large tornado, it could be on the ground for quite a bit of time. And again, this tornado warning looks a little bit weird, funky here, but again, if you're anywhere within this tornado warning, so Belzoni, Luis, if you're traveling along your at least U.S. route 149 or 49 West, you want to make sure you pull over to the side of the road and perhaps take cover in a structure or a ditch as well, could also as a last resort if there's nowhere else to go. But again, anywhere within this funky shape where we have the tornado warning, you want to make sure you go to the interior portions of your structure, a building, again, as a last resort, perhaps a ditch if there's nowhere else to go. Again, anywhere within this structure or within this tornado warning needs to be taking precautions, as at least right now there is confirmed an observed tornado on the ground.
And Aaron, I'm just getting a picture from Zachary Hall, who's this tornado chaser, storm chaser, and he just tweeted a picture of major damage near Rolling Fork. This, I'm not sure if it's a structure, if it's a mobile home, what it is. It looks unrecognizable. This tornado just, pummeled the town of Rolling Fork, Mississippi, just a short time ago. And unfortunately, it had to go through an area that is known for having a lot of mobile homes and RV parks. And unfortunately, that's a terrible place to be right now. Again, 30 to 35,000 feet was how high we were getting this debris to go as it went through Rolling Fork just a short time ago. So the storm has kind of progressed. It started out here near first kind of tornado emergency was on the ground in Rolling Fork and is now starting to work its way up to the northeast near Luis, Belzoni. You guys are the next ones under the gun for this. At least at one time was confirmed tornado. They just continued that tornado emergency. So the National Weather Service says this tornado is still on the ground and moving Anguilla, Ritchie, Brooklyn, and Silver City. This tornado, according to the National Weather Service, is still on the ground. And again, we're getting reports now of extreme damage. If you follow me on Twitter, it's at RyanSearonWX. I'm retweeting now a photo from Zachary Hall that will just show how damaging this tornado was, because this tornado was a very strong tornado that went through this town of what was the name of it again? Rolling Fork. All right, I just retweeted the picture now. People are trapped. Zachary said it is bad here. So Zachary Hall on Twitter, he's a tornado chaser, is in Rolling Fork right now and is saying this damage is bad. People are trapped. And I'm retweeting another picture from Zachary of showing this tornado on the ground as it went through Rolling Fork just a short time ago. So if you follow me on Twitter at RyanSearonWX, and if I can log into the FSU weather Twitter and I'll retweet this picture as well. This tornado was a very strong tornado that went through. So if you follow us on Twitter at FSU weather, this is a strong tornado that just went through the town of Rolling Fork and is now starting to push its way to northeast near Luis. So now Luis, you guys are the next ones that are under this tornado emergency. This tornado emergency going until 9 o'clock, so about another 32 minutes with this tornado emergency for Belzoni, Rolling Fork, and Anguilla, Mississippi. Massive tornado on the ground. This tornado was a bad tornado, folks. And I don't want to leave out, there is still a tornado or a tornado warning to the northeast. If we can hop up to this storm here, this storm, and this new tornado warning over here includes Oxford, Mississippi. Now, it's kind of on the fringe, but if you are at Ole Miss, I want you to be taking, you don't have to take your tornado precautions right now because you're still kind of on the fringe of this tornado warning. But I think you should be at least tuning in the radio, making sure you are ready to go because, again, if this storm holds together, this storm is going to be knocking on the door of Ole Miss here in the next few minutes. So if you're at Ole Miss, know where to go. So if you're in your dorm, I want you to get as interior of a room as you can. If you're under tornado warning at all tonight, get to the most interior room you can because these storms, these tornado warnings, we've seen already that these storms can put down a large damaging tornado, and unfortunately, one was confirmed and has extreme damage right now. Can we pop on the velocity product for this storm? I want to take a look at. Yep, near Pope. So if you're in the town of Pope along I-55, this is what we're looking at right here. Can we pop on correlation coefficient? I want to see. It's kind of hard to tell. I think that's more just the radar not picking up as cleanly, but it's not to say that there may not be a tornado on the ground. Rolling Fork, Mississippi has unfortunately been destroyed. The former mayor said his house was damaged. Lots of buildings have been destroyed in Rolling Fork. Silver City, you need to be taking your tornado precautions now because this storm is knocking on your doorstep. I believe Silver City is going to be the other tornado warning, however. But again, these storms tonight, if you find yourself under a tornado warning tonight, the atmospheric setup is there to where these storms can and have produced a large damaging tornado. Pop back over to reflectivity for me, Aaron. National Weather Service in Jackson just said this tornado warning is in effect, or this tornado emergency is still in effect until 9 o'clock. Just about 40 seconds ago, they tweeted this out. And this tornado is moving into midnight in Silver City right now. Is this the one? Let's pop back to the other one so we can kind of keep our warnings straight. So this is the one the National Weather Service in Jackson is talking about. Just to the northeast of Yazoo City, near Luis. This is the one that the National Weather Service in Jackson, Mississippi has said has the tornado with it still and is moving into midnight in Silver City here in the next few minutes. And again, just a damaging tornado just a few minutes ago that went through the town of Rolling Fork. We've seen pictures of bad damage. If you follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather, we've tweeted a few pictures out of weather that has moved through, and we were on air as it was covered. I want you to note as well, Rolling Fork, you're still in a strong thunderstorm right now. Just because the tornado has moved off here in northeast, there's still strong rain falling in the town of Rolling Fork. And again, if we switch back to velocity, I believe the tornado is going to be right in this area here near Luis. Yep, right under my hand. Again, greens and reds coming together is not good because this shows rotating winds, and these here are showing just winds moving in opposite directions, and the brighter colors mean that this is stronger winds. So if I take like a green and red here, this is close together, but these winds are weak. The brighter these colors are means that there is a stronger tornado in line right now. And again, Silver City and Belzoni, this storm is moving your way. You need to be taking your tornado precautions right now because this storm again. Can we switch to the graphic that shows where you should go in the event of a tornado? Because this one, this tornado that went through Rolling Fork was bad and is likely still on the ground. So where you want to go, as interior of a room as you can, not outside. Don't be trying to take pictures of this storm, okay? We have trained storm chasers on this storm. You do not need to risk your life by sitting outside trying to make it viral on Twitter, okay? We have trained chasers on this storm. You need to be going as interior of a room as you can, away from windows, and just getting yourself on the lowest floor you can. If you find yourself in an apartment, you need to get as inside as you can. Make some friends with your neighbors downstairs and just say, hey, do you mind if I crash with you for the next 15 minutes while this strong storm moves through? And then also send some texts out. Alert your family and friends that are in this area right now, because if you find yourself under a tornado warning, I wouldn't mind getting a text message saying, hey, you're under a tornado warning. Wake them up if you have to, and just say, hey, there's a tornado warning for your area, wake up. And then, of course, if you can get yourself to a basement, that is going to be the best spot you can find yourself in tonight, or some sort of tornado shelter. Some RV parks also have tornado shelter. New observed tornado near Tuchula, Mississippi. That's going to be our northern cell here. So we've got this one that went through Rolling Fork that's now moving northeast of Luis. If we can pop back to the northern storm, that is now an observed tornado. So we're now working two tornadoes on the ground at the same time. We've got the tornado emergency behind me, and then actually, yep. So that Oxford one was, that Oxford warning, I guess, was canceled. That tornado warning was canceled. The observed one is going to be the one, okay. The observed tornado, okay, so the tornado warning is continuing for Belzoni and Rolling Fork and Anguilla. The observed tornado warning is the one that's going to be kind of pushed off to the east a little more. Let's pop back down to here. This box here is, they just extended this warning further. This is an observed tornado warning. Again, this storm is flying. I believe if we pop onto velocity, I believe the tornado is going to be right about where my hand is. This storm, Belzoni, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now. Tuchula and Kruger, you guys are also under a tornado warning now. You need to be taking your tornado precautions on the lowest floor away from windows. The warning for Tuchula and Sidian, that's going to be going until 9:30 tonight. So you've got about another hour of this tornado warning here going. This tornado emergency goes until 9 o'clock tonight, so about another 24 minutes. And again, this is being left as a tornado emergency. This is still a confirmed tornado. Silver City, Mississippi. Just look at how bright these greens and reds are. This is a strong tornado, folks. This is still a tornado. Can we switch to correlation coefficient? This is still a tornado on the ground, okay? This low spot right here shows debris being lofted near Silver City, Mississippi. So if you're in Silver City, Belzoni, you need to be taking your tornado precautions now. If you find yourself under a tornado warning tonight and you live in an RV, I want you to get out of that RV, out of that mobile home, and into a site boat structure, or the best case scenario would be a tornado shelter. Because again, this tornado emergency is a strong, strong tornado on the ground near Silver City, Mississippi, right here. So near Highway 49 West, this is where our observed tornado, confirmed tornado is, and we're getting damage reports now of the tornado as it went through Rolling Fork, Mississippi a short time ago, about 30 minutes ago. This tornado is still on the ground as it moves towards Silver City and then eventually up towards Tachula. So Tachula, you are now under tornado warning. If you find yourself sitting in Tachula, you've got a little bit of time. If you're in an RV, you need to get out. Silver City, you need to get yourself, if you're in an RV or a mobile home, you need to get just as covered and protected. Put a mattress over your head, put a bicycle helmet on, because it's too late for you to try to find another site boat structure in Silver City. Tachula, you've got a couple minutes. If you're in an RV in Tachula, I want you to be taking your tornado precautions now. I'm also looking that tornado warning in northern Mississippi near Oxford also just got reissued. So that's going to have about another 20 minutes on it. This one here, still tornado, if that's a hail indicator, that is a strong thunderstorm that's producing some big hail right there. Right there where Aaron's circling, that pink is indicating strong hail core with these storms. And hail is often a sign of a mature, strong thunderstorm, okay? Remember, in order to form a tornado, we need updrafts, okay? We need air rising. Well, so hail is formed also by updrafts. It's water that, as it goes through the atmosphere, remember, think of the atmosphere in 3D. Remember, the atmosphere, as we go higher from Earth, is going to be below freezing. And as these water droplets go through the freezing layer, they freeze. Then it gets shot back up in the atmosphere and keeps building and building and building to where these updrafts are just causing this hailstone to get bigger and bigger, and eventually it gets so heavy that these storms can't, that these updrafts can't hold the hailstones up anymore, and it's going to come crashing down to the earth. Let's pop up reflectivity, if we can, on the Memphis radar near Jackson. Just kind of zoom out and show the whole area in general, but especially up, there's a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings up in here that, just looking at velocity, are showing some strong winds associated with this storm. Move the map up north a little bit towards Memphis, where these orange boxes are right here. These are severe thunderstorm warnings for Jackson, Tennessee, southeast Tennessee, kind of east of Memphis. And this is going to be going for the next about 20 minutes, these severe thunderstorm warnings in Memphis. Let me help you switch the radar over to the next one, because, again, this severe thunderstorm warning I'm looking at on my computer, and it's showing strong velocity associated with this thunderstorm. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the area as a whole, the region, and it's just showing how this whole line of thunderstorms, it's called a QLCS, is just showing strong thunderstorms. And the way a lot of QLCS systems work is we're going to have a line of storms, but out in front of it, we have the potential for discrete storms to pop up. And these discrete storms are often the ones that cause these tornado warnings. We've got 1, 2, 3 tornado warnings in effect across all of these warnings. I believe are in Mississippi right now. But again, we're still seeing severe thunderstorm warnings like the one behind me in Jackson that's up near, that's up in Tennessee, moving through Memphis into southeast Tennessee, Jackson. And looking at major cities that are going to be under the gun for severe weather in the overnight hours, we're going to be talking about Nashville, Murfreesboro, Huntsville, Birmingham, Jackson, Mississippi. These are the storms that can be can produce strong storms as we go through the overnight tonight. And I want to note that the SBC has put these areas under a level 4 out of 5 risk for severe weather, Aaron.
That's right. And currently our system is frozen. However, again, I just want to talk to you guys about the importance of make sure you take precautions in interior portions of course, these tornado warnings. We do have the potential for, again, for more of these tornado warning storms to continue across much of the area. Again, right now our system is currently frozen. However, there are several tornado warnings in effect for across the greater southeastern area, including that one unfortunately confirmed tornado that it was near Grand Forks, near just south of near Mississippi there. But again, this is a very serious situation tonight as we have a lot of these storms that are continuing across much of the southeast. And again, that line extends from far northern portions of near Tennessee all the way down through about the Louisiana area as we continue to see this all night with these cells that produce these very strong and violent tornadoes potentially overnight. And again, that severe risk does continue off throughout much of the night tonight, and those cells will again continue off towards the north and the east as we do have, again, those cells where those movement will continue off that direction, where Huntsville is under the gun perhaps tonight, and as well as places in northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, where they could see further and more isolated tornadoes overnight. Again, even though the risk, it won't be considered moderate at that location, it potentially could continue, and you could see an isolated thunderstorm or two overnight, at least overnight, across northern Alabama and into Mississippi as well, and also into Tennessee, just south of Tennessee as well. So again, the night is not over, as we'll continue to see these thunderstorms continuing to produce potentially the risk of some tornadoes.
Yeah, I do apologize. Our graphics system is having problems right now. But again, I wanted to pull up radar on another source because we've still got these strong tornadoes moving through the area right now. We've got, again, this tornado emergency near Belzoni. I want to make sure the National Weather Service is still calling this a tornado emergency, but I believe so, that near Silver City, this is still a tornado in progress, or at least as of a few minutes ago. I'm going to switch over to velocity. We're going to take a look at that. Again, I'm going to circle where this storm is, but this is indicative of a strong tornado, okay? We've got these white shades are very, very strong shades. This is just a strong wind that's being rotated in the atmosphere, and as it moves through Silver City up towards Tchula and Kruger, these are strong, strong winds. I'm going to pop on correlation coefficient. We're going to see this tornado, this tornado is still on the ground, okay? This tornado is right here near, kind of just moved through Silver City. I'm going to put it into motion, and we're going to see this storm intensified right over Silver City, where that blue shade was. That means over Silver City is where we have damage that moved through the area. And again, just a terrible situation. Now, if you're in Tchula, you need to be taking your tornado precautions because this storm, again, moved through. Tornado warning for the next 46 minutes. Tchula, Kruger. This is the tornado warning right here. Okay, so this tornado is going to be moving to the northeast. Tchula. It's starting to get more rain wrapped. All right. When it went through Silver City and also Rolling Fork, it was more of a supercellular thunderstorm, okay? It was a storm that, you know, the tornado is kind of on the back end, and it's a storm that you can see the tornado without being in the rain. Now, this storm is becoming more of a rain-wrapped thunderstorm where if you go outside, all you're going to see is a wall of rain, then the tornado will be on you. All right. So if you find yourself anywhere between Sidon, Kruger, Tchula, all the way up to the northeast here, near North Carlton, this is where you're going to be finding yourself under a tornado warning. I'm going to toss it back over to Aaron because it looks like we have our graphics back up.
That's right. I want to talk more about our overall setup today here as we have that bullseye. It looks like they just expired that moderate risk of severe weather. We're back down to enhanced risk. But again, it doesn't matter, folks. We've seen tornadoes already tonight, and confirmed tornadoes for that matter tonight here. And again, that bullseye, that enhanced risk, does extend from about central Mississippi over towards about central Tennessee, even close to the Kentucky border there with Tennessee. So again, tonight is where we have the best chance as this line continues off towards the east with that severe weather. Again, northwestern Alabama into west central Tennessee and down through northern Mississippi, again, with the best chance of severe weather. So again, with the highest, at least the highest effects of, or at least hazards, I should say, for severe weather, again, are going to include high winds and tornadoes. Those are the two biggest factors tonight that we have to look for, and the most dangerous, of course, as it can cause the most damage. So we've already had several tornadoes. We already had a few tornadoes tonight. So again, we could have a few more as well, even in this enhanced risk. Even though we're no longer in that moderate risk, we could perhaps see a few more tornadoes tonight. And again, we also want to look for high winds as well. And many of the severe thunderstorm warnings we've been looking at too, and consisted of these high winds of excess, if not, or 60 miles per hour excess of that, at least with several of these these severe thunderstorm warnings. Flooding is also a possibility as well with some of these storms that perhaps could train a bit over the same area and bring rounds and rounds and rounds of rain over the same location. You can easily start to build up that water as well. Large hail is also a big concern as well. We've seen several indications of perhaps some large hail on radar. And what hail, or how hail forms, is basically when these updrafts, these very powerful updrafts, extend very far up into the atmosphere where it's really cold. It's able to condense, or actually it's able to coalesce into ice pellets. And from there, if they get large enough and fall down to the ground, they could potentially be as large as 1 inch in diameter. That's about like this on my fingers here. Again, these can be very large and life-threatening if you're outside. You do not want to be out in a hailstorm or even out there. You want to make sure you stay in interior portions of your room. And that's even why we suggest to do so in a severe thunderstorm, or even severe thunderstorm warning, not just in a tornado warning. So we do have the instability still in check here across Louisiana, through Birmingham, as well as Jackson, Mississippi, in New Orleans as well, where there could perhaps still be enough energy to produce some more flare-ups and more severe thunderstorms over the next several hours, so as this line does make its way off towards the east. We also do have wind shear. It's also an effect across, or it's also helping produce some tornadoes across the area. So where we have those winds coming out of the south near the surface, and then we have those upper-level winds at the mid-levels to the upper levels coming out of the west, where we have that jet stream. In fact, what that essentially does is allows the winds to rotate, and once it actually at least becomes more vertical, if that vertical column does extend out of the ground, that's what we call a tornado. As such, we've already had a few tornado warnings in effect across the area. And here's the overall system that we're looking at. We have that drier air in place behind the cold front. So with that, we have that more stable air in effect for the Dallas area and Houston. So they are not under the gun for severe weather currently right now, as that all has extended off towards Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi as well tonight. And as for tornado safety, again, we have the tornado, or if any event that you are under a tornado warning, you want to make sure you go to an interior portion of your house there. So a hallway, stairs, a bathroom, a closet is the best place to go if you have no basement. So many houses across the southeast may not have these basements. So again, the best portion or best place to go is going to be the hallway, stairs, bathroom, closet, where you can take cover. Again, away from windows or doors, the weakest portions of your house that can be compromised in the event of the tornado actually moving through that region. And again, we do have the blanket, or you want to make sure you cover yourself up with potentially a mattress or a blanket for more protection. But we'll pass things over to Ryan with updates on the power outages.
Yeah, so something we can look at when tornado or severe storms move through is power outage numbers, because think about it. We were talking a little bit earlier about power flashes. When a power flash happens, power is going to go out, okay? You're not going to have power. And where we just saw where we saw that tornado go through near Silver City and Grand Fork, that red is indicative of 60 to 100% of the county's power being out. So Sharkey County, 94% of that county is without power at the current moment. And again, we're starting to see, and it's not just where the tornado was, it's all along where this line is going through. We're seeing these, this power outage, these power outage numbers coming in. So again, we've got tornado warning in effect. I'm guessing this is still the observed tornado warning going until another 40 minutes or so. So it's going to be going until 9:30 local time. I'm going to switch over to velocity. We're going to take a quick look. Again, this storm still rotating. A lot of these tornadoes that are supercellular are long track tornadoes. If you think of, a tornado in Florida is going to be very short-lived, okay? Often they pop up, pop down. This tornado is a supercellular tornado that's been on the ground for a long time. This tornado first went on the ground near Rolling Fork. Even in Lake Providence, we were getting indications that this tornado was on the ground. This tornado has been traveling for a long time and is believed to still be on the ground. I'm going to put a measurement on from Lake Providence to where it's at now, just so we can kind of get an idea of how long this rotation has been sticking together. That's 52 miles, folks, that this rotation has been holding together because, again, these supercellular thunderstorms tonight have the opportunity to stay on the ground for a long time. If you find yourself under a tornado warning tonight, again, you want to be going to a room away from windows and as interior of room as you can. I want to take a look again at this storm here in northern Mississippi. Ole Miss, the time is now, okay? I said a little bit ago, you've got a little bit of time to get ready. Time is now to be taking your tornado precautions. If you're in Oxford, near Ole Miss, you need to be taking your tornado precautions. Make some new friends tonight. Go meet your downstairs neighbor and say, hey, some bad weather's coming through. Can I stay with you? And if they don't say yes, tell them to contact me, and I'll tell them, you know what, you need to let them stay with you. Okay? So Oxford, Taylor, we're seeing some strong indications of hail, but we're also seeing strong winds and possibly a tornado associated with this. I don't believe this tornado has been confirmed, but again, tornado warning including Oxford, Mississippi. This storm is right about here, and it's going to be knocking on your doorstep here in the next couple minutes. And I'm going to pop on a product that's going to kind of show us a little bit more into what's being picked up with this storm, okay? So I'm going to click on it, and we're going to be able to see exactly what the radar is being picked up, or what the radar thinks is falling from this thunderstorm. We've got giant hail according to Doppler radar, and we've got, again, hail, rain. So if you're on the University of Mississippi, you're going to see some hail, you're going to see some heavy rain, strong winds, and again, that possibility for a tornado. Tornado warning, again, for Oxford, Mississippi, going for the next, what would that be, 35 minutes or so. So again, if you're Oxford, Murrow, New Albany, Ecru, Thaxton, you're under a tornado warning that's going to be going for the next 35 minutes, pardon me. And again, at the very least, we've got strong winds and some large hail falling from this thunderstorm. I'm going to switch radar sites just so we can get like a different view on it, because the Jackson radar, we are kind of getting on the edge of, if we take a look at this storm from the Memphis, Tennessee radar, we're again seeing this storm near Oxford showing indications of strong hail or large hail and possibly strong winds with this thunderstorm. Again, so taking a look at the radar here, this is where our tornado is going to be right in here. We've got the reds, we've got the blues. Blues indicating strong winds going one way, reds indicating winds going the other way, and where these winds come together, that's where we're going to see our rotation net knocking on the door of Oxford and Ole Miss. So if you find yourself at Ole Miss tonight, tonight's not the best night to be out and about exploring Oxford. Tonight's the night to be indoors, away from windows, taking shelter from a possible tornado. If you have your car and you can park in a garage, if you can park it on a lower floor of a parking garage, go ahead and do that. If you park it somewhere, like I know at FSU, lower floors are reserved, park it there anyway. Move in like 15 minutes. Just let the storm move through before, I don't want your car getting hail damage. I don't want if you have like outdoor plants, outdoor furniture, move it indoors. But again, Oxford, the time's running out. You need to be taking your tornado precautions right now because this storm is knocking on your doorstep. I'm going to toss it over to Aaron, who's taking a look at the whole map that, for a bigger look at what's happening with the radar.
That's right. Overall, across much of the southeast, we have that big area of low pressure off to the north near Missouri. And what that's doing is it's dragging that cold front, that cooler air. What that's doing is it's forcing the air in front of it upwards. And what that's doing is it's enhancing these thunderstorms, the updrafts in these thunderstorms. And that's why we do see the potential for some severe weather, at least amongst other parameters. But at least we have the best chance for severe weather across much of the Memphis down towards about northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. Tonight, even though it is downgraded down to enhanced risk, we are still in, we still do have a 3 out of 5 potential risk of severe weather. That includes things like tornadoes, like we've been seeing here. And again, right here, you can see those 2 little red boxes here. Those are the current tornado warnings. One that's near central Mississippi, and then one that's in northern Mississippi right now. And we also do have several we also have several severe thunderstorm warnings throughout the night as well, at least near Tennessee, or near Memphis, Tennessee, and those have since been moving off towards at least towards central Tennessee there, past Memphis earlier, where we had seen some pretty robust storms, and that line does extend down through about the Louisiana area. And overnight, we'll continue to see those storms moving off towards the north and east there. So again, we do currently have tornado warnings in effect for for northern Mississippi and also the central Mississippi. So as we go back to our radar here, we'll look at those 2 tornado warnings here that are currently in effect for central Mississippi and also central Mississippi, and then also for northern Mississippi here. So we go back to our reflectivity here. We'll see the current warned storm right now, which passed near Yazoo City here, so northwest of Yazoo City, and near Belzoni. So right now, if you currently are over the city of Belzoni here, which looks like you just seen that velocity rotation there just pass over the past several minutes or so, we see that tornado warned storm there just southwest of Kruger.
This is a tornado emergency. They just upgraded it from a tornado warning to a tornado emergency. So this tornado is still on the ground, folks. This tornado has been on the ground for miles, probably 50 plus miles. This tornado has just been tracking across Mississippi. We saw it near Silver Fork. We saw it just move all the way through Mississippi, now near Tachula, approaching Kruger along Highway 49 East. We've just seen this storm holding together. If we can pause the radar and then switch over to correlation coefficient, and we can just see that this storm is still getting its act together and still picking up debris. Granted, this debris ball not as big as it was a little bit ago, but this is still a tornado on the ground, believe it or not, because this tornado has just been tracking for miles and miles and is still on the ground. These tornadoes, there's kind of like 2 different types of tornadoes. We'll see tornadoes that are on the ground for miles, something we'll see in the deep south and Oklahoma plains. And then we'll see tornadoes like we see in Florida that will drop, pick up, drop, pick up. And this is now a rain wrap tornado. When we first started tracking this cell, it was more of a independent cell that had less of a rain band associated with it, and now more of a.
I'm gonna hook up my laptop to.
Now it's become more of a rain wrap tornado. So don't go outside to try to see this storm, okay? If you go outside, all you're gonna see is rain, and then you're gonna feel the gust of wind. You might hear a lot of people describe it as a freight train. I know when Zach Hall tweeted out a video of this storm, he said that he could hear the roar from where he was. And I don't want you going outside, okay? We have trained chasers and spotters that can do that job. If you live in Tachula, Kruger, up towards Winoma, okay, we've got people that can go outside and take pictures. Don't be going outside because you want to post on Instagram because, oh, look at me. I have a picture of a tornado. I don't care, okay? You'll get 5 likes. Nobody cares about likes, okay? I want you to be safe. I'd rather you be safe than getting 5 likes on your Instagram post because guess what? Your 5 likes on Instagram might cost you your life, and I don't want that happening, okay? So Tachula, Kruger, again, moving up to the northeast, that's where we're going to be seeing our biggest chance for a tornado on the ground. still a tornado emergency in effect. And again, we're still seeing that tornado, or at least the velocity product showing, and switching back over to correlation coefficient again. We're just seeing this storm on the ground. I'm going to put a measurement on from Lake Providence all the way to Rolling Fork, just so we can kind of get an idea of how long this tornado has been on the ground. This tornado near Tachula has been on the ground for about 54 miles. Now, maybe not continuously on the ground for 54 miles, but this tornado has at least been rotating, and at multiple points on Doppler radar, we've been able to detect that this storm is on the ground and actually is still on the ground near Tachula, northeast of Yazoo City, approaching I-55. So if you're on I-55, I would say near, kind of south of Tachula, between Greenwood, I want you to be pulling off, going to a gas station, going somewhere that you can get, because again, this is still believed to be a tornado on the ground near Tachula. They're still putting out pictures. They're still, putting out damage video. They're still putting out all kinds of things about this tornado warning. And again, this is still indicative of a strong tornado in progress near Butler, Wyatt, Kern, Tachula. If you're in any of these cities, you need to be taking your tornado precautions now. Just the latest radar scan came in. And again, still moving towards Wyatt. Now, the good news I do have for this is at one point, what was a strong correlation coefficient dropout is now getting weaker. So hopefully this means that this tornado is getting weaker. But still, we're dealing with a tornado on the ground, so near Adair, I believe that's Black Hawk, and Acona. You need to be taking your tornado precautions, because this at one point was a tornado on the ground, and again, could still be a tornado on the ground. Latest, it looks like the correlation coefficient is getting better, and by better I mean it's getting more rain, it's not picking up as much debris, but that doesn't mean that there's not a tornado on the ground, and it doesn't mean that there's not a current tornado in progress, because again, this tornado at one point was considered a tornado emergency. National Weather Service still labeling it as a damaging tornado, and they just put that up 26 seconds ago. So again, Tachula, this tornado warning is still in effect and is going until is going to be going until 9:30 Central Time. And I don't want to ignore the tornado warning we have to the northeast, because we still have a tornado possible near Oxford, Mississippi, where we're seeing a near the University, or Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, we're still possibly seeing the tornado warning in effect. I'm going to switch this over radar-wise, and we're going to take a look at the Memphis radar, because I believe we might be able to get a better look at it. I'm actually going to put on the, this is the radar at the Memphis airport. Not as strong of a radar, but it might be a little bit closer. I'm not really seeing much in way there. I'm going to switch again to the National Weather Service radar, and we're going to see, no matter what's going on, the University of Mississippi just had a strong line of wind go through, and again, there may have been a tornado somewhere associated with this near Oxford, moving northeast of Oxford now. Local time is about 9 o'clock. It's getting late into the night. Some of you might be going to bed. If you are going to bed, I want you to have ways of getting warned, because just have multiple ways. Your cell phone, it's a great way. I have notifications enabled on Twitter that alert me anytime there's a tornado warning in the United States. But guess what? Sometimes phones don't work, okay? So the best way is to have a weather radio, and if not a weather radio, maybe have the TV on. If you find yourself in a tornado warning tonight, if you're in Oxford, and say you're going somewhere that you don't have cell reception, and you don't have a TV, or you don't have a TV in your basement with you, take the TV and just turn the volume all the way up, and we'll be able to tell you where to save. Taylor, you're all clear right now. East or west of Oxford is where you're kind of in all clear along 278. But again, strong line of wind associated with this storm near Oxford, Aaron.
That's right. And as we continue on throughout the rest of the night tonight, we do have that enhanced risk right now that's currently in effect from about Clarksville, Tennessee, down through about Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi there. And again, the biggest chance of seeing tornadoes here, as shown by the Storm Prediction Center here, is going to be within this graphic here, as here on the graphic where that gray is at, we have the best chance of seeing those tornadoes throughout the rest of the night. And that's actually where we've been seeing those spin-ups here have been around just northwest of Jackson, Mississippi, and throughout this entire area right here. And if you scroll a little bit through Twitter, just to look at some of the social media here, you can see very large, as we've been talking about, the correlation coefficient really dipping down. This is actually a picture from Texas Storm Chasers here on Twitter showing potentially what could be that tornado on the ground near Rolling Fork earlier today. And this is around 8:05 Central Time. So again, very potentially this could have been the tornado that was going through that area that caused the damage through Rolling Fork. But overall, as we continue to look down throughout, at least through social media, again, we want to emphasize the importance of taking shelter as we do have many reports of damage, just like this picture here from Matt Lobon here in Silver City, Mississippi. So actually a bit further up the road here from Grand Fork there where we saw the tornado damage earlier. Again, potentially catastrophic damage is what we could be seeing from very strong tornadoes overnight here across Mississippi. So overall, what we do see, the overall setup is we have that enhanced risk, as I mentioned earlier, from about Tennessee through about northeast, or western, I should say, northeastern Louisiana there, where that tornado watch is in effect for about these areas here. As we continue looking at these watches here, you can see, for the most part, they extend for most of the northern 2/3 of Tennessee, or I should say of Mississippi there. And those look like continue off throughout the next several hours or so. As we do zoom a little bit further into the actual greatest risk setup here, again, we have the overall that enhanced risk in effect for those portions, but it doesn't mean you can't see perhaps a tornado or two or severe thunderstorm warning outside of the enhanced risk. So even the marginal risk too. And we're actually going to be under a marginal risk tomorrow across Tallahassee, so do not let your guard down here as well. So tornado risk, again, the largest tornado risk is going to be where this hatched area is, at 10% chance of tornadoes, but there could still be very large, significant tornadoes within that hatched area. So we have the potential for 10%, or at least 10% or greater of probability of potentially an EF2 or EF5 tornado, at least within that area. And it looks like where we do see the Silver City and the Grand Fork damage is within that hatched area. So again, tonight has shown that it has been very severe, very damaging across much of the area. And if we look towards our wind probability, it looks like it's a bit further off to the north than where we see the greatest tornado probability, so maybe a bit further off towards the north, towards west central Tennessee there. But again, that's actually where we saw the severe thunderstorm warning earlier that went through Memphis there on the far western portions of the state. And it's also a hatched area too here, so we have a 10% chance of a greater probability of winds gusting 65 knots or greater, which is almost 65 miles per hour there. So again, very life-threatening and very damaging winds are possible as well. And hail, the 5% chance of hail, again, is going to be right here, almost over the same spots where we've seen the severe thunderstorms throughout the day, or throughout the evening, I should say, and nighttime here, again, over the northern 2/3 of Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, and also extending into Tennessee, as well as into Louisiana and far eastern Arkansas. So overall, as we look at our power outage maps, we do have some power outages reported out of Tennessee, as well as in Memphis, or as well as in Mississippi, I should say. So out of Tennessee, customers that are out right now without power is about 20,000 or so. So this perhaps could be at least more than likely due to straight line winds, which perhaps could have blown over some of these power lines, or these trees too could have also knocked down onto some of these power lines as well. In Mississippi, about 10,000 customers are out. So we'll go through real quick into Tennessee to see what counties are in effect right now from these power outages. And you can see for the most part, they are in the areas where there currently are severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. So Chester County, Henderson counties, Madison, Gibson, Hayward, and Shelby right now currently have power outages in effect there. If we go back to Mississippi, right now where we have about 10,000 folks out with power, most of them looks like, unfortunately, is where that tornado looks like went through earlier near Grand Fork in Sharkey County, Mississippi, where we have about 1,000 customers out of power. It's a relatively low number of folks, but this is about nearly the entire population of the county, of about near 2,000 or so. So again, it looks like there could be some very strong damage, very severe damage from this storm, or at least from that particular tornado-warned storm there in Sharkey County, I should say, in Mississippi. We also have some reports of some power outages in portions of, at least along the Mississippi River in Mississippi there. So again, That includes Washington County, Sunflower County, Boulevard County, Quitman County, as well as Tunica County, where they do have some reported outages there from the storms that currently have rolled through earlier. And again, it doesn't take a tornado to actually cause this damage. It could be straight line winds as well that can easily cause down power lines from towards trees, and also just wind itself knocking down power lines. But now we'll turn things back over to the wall with Ryan.
Yeah, and I just want to take a look at all the areas right now that find themselves. So yellow is a severe thunderstorm watch, orange is a severe thunderstorm warning, and red is a tornado warning. So we've got 2 tornado warnings and 1 severe thunderstorm warning. I want to take a quick look at this this tornado warning that just went through Oxford, Mississippi. So this is right near Ole Miss, just now on the east side of Ole Miss. And this tornado warning has not yet been radar indicated, but again, looking at velocity, we are starting to notice, I think that couplet is starting to get a little bit stronger. So I think now we might be seeing a little bit more rotation associated with this storm. At one point I thought it was a little bit more straight line. So say you find yourself under a tornado warning night, and you're wondering to yourself, where should I go, all right? So you've got a tornado here, and let's take a look in your house, all right? Maybe you're watching TV in your living room or playing video games, and you get an alert on your phone that there's a tornado warning for your area, all right? You should be leaving your bedroom. It's getting late at night, all right? I want to go to bed too, but it's getting late at night, all right? You want to be leaving your bedroom, getting into a spot of the house that has the most walls between you and the outside as possible, and don't be afraid to put a bicycle helmet on. Don't be afraid to put a mattress on. Nobody else is going to see you, okay? No one else is going to be like, oh, look at them. They're wearing they have a mattress on their head. No one else is going to see you, and no one else is going to care how silly you look when you're protecting yourself, when you're in your bathroom, when you're in your hallway. Put some blankets on as well. If you're, in an outside room, go ahead and just put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and get to the lowest floor you can. All right. So think about it. Say you have a 2-story house and you're upstairs, it's late, you're in the bathroom getting ready for bed, you get a notification that there's a tornado warning, and you're thinking, okay, where do I go? Maybe I go to a closet in my bedroom. Well, you're on the 2nd floor. I want you to be getting to the lowest floor you can. So if you have a basement, that would be preferred, but again, a lot of places in the southeast don't have basements just because of water tables. So get as low as you can. Get to the 1st floor. If you're in an apartment, get to the 1st floor of your apartment, because again, these storms tonight mean business. We've got this storm. I think this storm is rotating a little more than it was a little bit ago. And again, now on the east side of Oxford, moving towards Dumas, if you find yourself under this tornado warning, I want you to be taking your tornado precautions, because again, these storms we've seen with the south storm, that these storms mean business. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and we're going to take it further south to this warning here. Again, this warning that went through Chula at one point had the confirmed tornado with it. I'm not seeing any correlation right now. Normally what we'd be looking for is a round area of white or yellow. We don't see that right now. I believe the strongest part of the tornado is lifted. If we go back, we can go back over the last few minutes of the radar and just kind of see, at one point we were seeing the stronger rotation than we are right now. And again, this storm has tracked for over 50 miles at this point. We first started tracking it near Lake Providence, and then we have the debris pictures near Rolling Fork. But again, this storm has been on the ground for close to 60, or we've been tracking it for about 60 miles right now as the storm is moving through central Mississippi. Again, the rotation has decreased as the storm is the structure of the storm has collapsed, but again, this storm is still, at least has the potential of putting a tornado down. I'm sure by now we've found more from the National Weather Service. They brought this back. They've brought their language back. At one point it was tornado emergency, which is the highest level tornado warning you can get. Means there's a strong tornado on the ground. Now they've kind of brought their language back. They said right now it's, at one point was a radar indicate tornado. Now it looks like they've kind of upped the language again back to a damaging tornado. So the National Weather Service still believes that this is a tornado on the ground. And again, the velocity is there, okay? There's no denying that there's not a couplet. There's no denying that there's not some sort of rotation within the storm here, right where I'm pointing. That's where we have the possibility for this tornado to be southeast of Winona, kind of parallel to I-55 right now. So if you're driving along I-55 between Winona and, say, Lexington, pull off, just find a gas station, take a chill pill. It's been a long day of driving probably. If you're like me and you pull off hour-long road trips at a time, you'll probably want to take a quick break, go to a bathroom, grab something to eat while this storm is moving through the area towards Winona. Again, along I-55, this is where we're seeing the possibility for a tornado, at least as it moves off to the northeast. At one point, this was a tornado emergency. This storm near, when this tornado was on the ground near Lake Providence, and especially where we're getting debris pictures near Rolling Fork. Now it appears, at least on radar, that it's lifted, but again, tornado warning remains in effect. So it's not to say that there's not a tornado on the ground. There very well could be a tornado on the ground. The velocity still shows some rotation within this thunderstorm, and the storm is not as well put together as it was when it went through places like Silver City and Rolling Fork. But again, this storm is still tracking to the northeast and still has a tornado warning associated with it. I'm going to pass it off now over to Aaron, who's monitoring social media a little bit. I think he's found an interesting tweet to look at.
That's right, and this is actually forwarded by our tech producer in the back here. And this is from Sam Emerson on Twitter here. We see that certainly this was a very strong and violent tornado, as we have indication that potentially could have gone as far as 30,000 feet up in the air, which means this was a very large, long-lived tornado, and it looks like it might even still be on the ground right now. So again, this is a serious situation as to what we have to deal with here overnight across Mississippi and into at least into Mississippi, northern part of Mississippi, and likely to continue over the next several hours or so. So again, that enhanced risk is going to be over the northern half of Mississippi as well as the northwestern portions of Alabama. That also extends into pretty much the entire western portions of the Tennessee area. And that will continue off throughout the next several days or so. But as we pass things over to the wall with Ryan with more of an update on our system.
Quite a bit now, but I believe now that we have, I actually forgot, I gotta turn my microphone on. 1 second.
Technical difficulties as Ryan turns back on his microphone.
And I think now let me get out of the control room real quick. I think now we're seeing that we've been tracking the storm near Tuchula for quite a bit now, and we've noticed this is where we had, this rotation right here is where we had that confirmed tornado, that tornado emergency. But now we're starting to see kind of a secondary rotation getting itself together. Hey, east of Belzoni, over these areas I've already seen a tornado warning in effect for a possible tornado already, that now we're seeing possible second rotation getting itself together here. Still pretty weak, but near Butler, Wyatt, and Tuchula, you again find yourself under a second possibility for a tornado. And again, there's no denying that there's not a tornado warning here, as it looks like they just extended this tornado warning out in the New Albany, and that's actually going to be the northeast one. Winona, Eupora. This is still a damaging tornado. The National Weather Service is still saying that, still using the wording that this is a damaging tornado. So again, we know that there's a strong tornado somewhere in here that's on the ground, or at least has the history of being on the ground. And with this, we've seen a lot of debris. If you follow FSU Weather on Twitter, we've tweeted out pictures of a possible tornado on the ground. Again, with velocity, we're still seeing that couplet correlation coefficient. There it is. There it is again. We've got that debris correlation dropout. I'm going to go ahead and circle it for you right now. That is where we're still seeing that debris signature on radar, because Again, we've been using this product all night, and the way it works is the radar is able to detect differences in what it's picking up. Red is all rain, and right here, this white, green, yellow, that's going to be a confirmed tornado on the ground. And right here is where we're seeing, again, a tornado south of Koila, northeast of Black Hawk. Again, moving towards I-55. So if you're on I-55, you need to get off the highway. And I'm not saying all of I-55, but just I-55 in a certain spot that's now under tornado warning. But again, we're seeing the between, I would say, Viden and Duck Hill. If you're on I-55, you need to get off the road near Winona. Winona is the largest city, and we're starting to see this now, again, yet again, confirmed tornado on the ground with, again, this velocity is still moving. And I'm going to go ahead and put a storm track on it. We're starting to get higher and farther away from the radar, but again, assuming that this storm is moving at about 40 miles per hour, Winona is going to be knocking on your doorstep here. I would say start taking your tornado precautions now. The storm will be on you next 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then as it moves further to the east near Eskridge, Lilac, and then later on tonight we'll see it near Cataretta. But again, we're still seeing this tornado, and again, the National Weather Service yet again confirming that this is a tornado on the ground. Again, I've put this on a couple times now, and maybe I'm getting repetitive with it, but I just want you to know how long we've been tracking this tornado warning since it's been on the, or at least near Lake Providence is where we first started tracking it. Now 75 miles we've been tracking this confirmed tornado on the ground here on FSU Weather. We first started tracking this warning near Lake Providence, then we saw it touch down, and now yet again we have confirmation on radar using correlation coefficient that this tornado has again touched down. Aaron, do you have anything to add?
Well, I was also forwarded another interesting social media post here from our tech producer in the back. This is from Lindsay, who is a National Weather Service meteorologist here. There's a screenshot from, what's it called? Had similar circulations here from the, I should say, of, of our current situation where we have potentially another circulation developing, as Ryan mentioned earlier, behind the original large circulation that produced a tornado in, at least in portions of Silver City and also into Grand Fork as well. And I also want to add a point too. This is also a good example of why we have that flood threat too. We have training that's happening with its cell. So as the cell is moving off towards the north and the east, the same spot. So take Chula, for example, here, to Chula. They're constantly seeing rain upon rain after rain because all the storm motion is off towards the northeast. However, the storm isn't really moving anywhere left or right of that. And that's what that's doing is allowing for the chance of some of these waters to actually grow here on the roadways or in retention ponds. But I also like to look over into the Twitter deck here to look more at, or at least our National Weather Service here. So you can see that there's currently a tornado warning that is in effect right now for places in central. This is actually the central Mississippi storm here. So again, just north of Tachula there, including Black Hawk, Koila, and North Carlton. This is a life-threatening situation. This is actually the current. This is actually the cell here that produced the tornado earlier across Silver City, also into places into Grand Forks as well. It looks like it still potentially could be on the ground right now. So again, these are long-lived tornadoes that can stay on the ground for hours potentially. And unfortunately, it looks like this has stayed on the ground for plenty of time as well. So as we look here as well, we can see several indications of very strong tornado activity there with reflectivity, as well as see right here, at least some many poster viewers here showing reflectivity, indications of this tornado as it moves off towards, at least off towards portions of the northeast. And I'd also like to highlight this as well. So it looks like the Storm Prediction Center might be issuing a tornado watch here potentially into places of northwestern Alabama. And that's what I was mentioning earlier, that just because the severe threat at least is not moderate anymore, we're still underneath that enhanced risk for northwestern Alabama. So that includes cities like Huntsville, Tuscaloosa as well, and also Decatur, Florence, and even into Hamilton. So these are all cities in northwestern Alabama. So Again, this is going to likely occur over the next several hours deep in the night. So again, make sure you do take those precautions to actually have that NOAA weather radio with you, and make sure you are prepared as the night continues.
Aaron, I just saw a tweet from Zachary Hall. He was forwarding the message from a Rolling Fork police officer, said, major tornado damage. We need as many ambulances in this town as possible. We need search and rescue help. So again, Rolling Fork took a direct hit. Now it appears that rotation near Blackhawk, again, yet on the ground nearing Winona.
That's right. And again, just as Ryan mentioned, there is confirmed damage there in Grand Fork, as we've seen catastrophic pictures of that circulating around social media, specifically on Twitter. But I also like to
tornado
add,
watch for Alabama and Tennessee going until 3 a.m.
That is just what I was about to say. So tornado watch is in effect right now, currently over portions of northwestern Alabama right now until 3 a.m. Central Daylight Time. This also does extend further north into the central Tennessee area. So Nashville, the metro Nashville area, again, or just south of that, is underneath that tornado watch. It does extend till about 3 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So again, we want to emphasize this here. Make sure you have a way to receive warnings, whether it's through your phone, NOAA weather radio, or even better, both, because you want to make sure that in the event of tornado warning, you do wake up and you do heed those warnings and go to the lower portions of your structure, because you might only have potentially minutes to actually do so. And I also would suggest, too, to make sure before you go to bed tonight, if you haven't already, make sure you have that plan in place. Make sure to know where you're going to go in the event that there actually is a tornado warning issued for your particular area. So we'll actually go into radar here and look at all the warnings that are currently in effect for across much of the actual continental United States here. So we do have the severe thunderstorm or the tornado watches in effect right now, currently for places, at least for the northern two-thirds of Mississippi, and that has just recently been expanded into northwestern Alabama. We also do have still have those tornado warned storms that have continued off. Those two storms have continued off over the last couple hours or so. We've been tracking it here, and that's this storm, or that's this cell here, particularly that's near. Let's zoom in real quick. That is in central Mississippi here, near US Route 82. That is approaching Winona here, near the Chula area here, just off to the bottom left-hand side, or bottom left-hand side of the screen here. This is all moving off towards the northeast. So Eupora is also currently in this warning as well. And as we zoom out to that northern cell here, this is along the actual line itself. So this isn't a discrete cell, perhaps, but again, this could still produce a pretty strong storm or a pretty strong tornado, perhaps, and we've seen signatures of that on velocities right earlier. So again, here the tornado warning that is currently in effect for places near New Albany here, at least in portions of northern Mississippi. This is the same cell that just passed through Oxford that we've been mentioning too, and also that passed Interstate 55 earlier as well. So as we go through at least we go back to the power outage map, again, we still have plenty of outages across Mississippi and Tennessee as well. And it looks like the numbers might be climbing a little bit, especially around Mississippi as well. And actually, we can actually follow where the actual storm, or at least that particular cell, did move through, as we have nearly the entire county of Sharkey County here in west central Mississippi that is almost entirely without power. And even though it's only about or just under 2,000 folks, this is a rural county, so the population is a bit less there. However, within that population, most people, if not nearly entirely everybody, has lost power there, as you can tell here on the map here. And that is because that's where that large tornado that went through Grand Fork went through earlier. So again, according to poweroutage.us, there are about 1,800 customers that are out of power there. And that's about 94% of the entire county. I mean, just think about it. Almost everybody there has no power right now. And that is because of the tornado, and even perhaps as well an extension of that straight line winds that may have perhaps blown over a few power lines or trees over power lines on the roadways. And also like to stress this out as well. So even though Grand Fork, you are out of the actual tornado warned storm right now, while you are going outside and perhaps assessing some of the damage that might be in effect there, do try and stay away from anything you might feel uncomfortable with. So for example, do not approach power lines, because they still could potentially be active as well. You don't want to touch those, because those can actually be life-threatening and potentially fatal to you, because those, this could shock you as well. So again, you want to stay away from those. You want to let professionals handle that as well as you assess some damage. Unfortunately, it's been unfolding across Mississippi as well as Tennessee. So we'll actually, speaking of Tennessee, we'll actually scroll to Tennessee here, as they'll have actually slightly more people out of power there. About 20,000 folks are without power. Shelby County, which is where Memphis is located at, does have about 16,000 folks without power there. That was because of a severe thunderstorm warning that did move through the area about a couple hours ago now. So those straight line winds have perhaps produced some of those very strong winds, which knocked down trees, power lines as well, and caused the 16,000 folks without power here in Shelby County, which includes Memphis. There's about 4% or so of the population there. But it looks like Henderson County has the most folks without power there, about 9% of folks without power in Henderson County. But this is also a rural county as well in Tennessee, so about 460 folks are without power, and about 5,000 people are being tracked here as well. So overall, if we go scroll back to social media, we can continue to look at what is going on across much of the Mississippi area, what people are reporting there on the ground. So again, a tornado emergency does continue for places in Eupora, Mississippi, as well as Veda, Mississippi, until 10:15 p.m. here, as shown here on Radar Omega as well. This is a particularly dangerous situation, a PDS tornado warning, so to speak, or tornado emergency, I should say. So this indicates that we do have a very live tornado on the ground right now that potentially does pose a very serious threat to places, at least in the tornado warning. So Eupora, Mississippi, Veda, Mississippi, all need to perhaps heed that warning and go to the interior portion of the room, where again, away from windows and doors, where those are the weakest portions of the house. And if you have a basement, even better, go there instead, because that will protect. That will put the most layers between you and the outside as much as possible, where the tornado could be at. I'll also say too that if you're in a mobile home and you have time to leave the mobile home and seek a more structurally sound building, that is also better as well, because you do not want to be in a mobile home during a tornado. At least mobile homes will perhaps have the best chance of being completely destroyed compared to structured homes. So again, it's better that you go there instead. And I also like to mention too that if you have a friend or family member in a mobile home, please let them know, because they are the ones that potentially could be at the greatest risk of, at least within a tornado warning. So please make sure you let them know in the event that at least they're in a tornado warning as well. So again, a tornado emergency has been issued here for a damaging tornado across portions near Winona, Duck Hill, extending into Eupora and Walthall as well in central Mississippi as well. This is life-threatening. This is valid until 10:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So it's actually go on for another 45 minutes or so tonight here. So hail is also possible with this storm as well. So pea-sized hail is also possible as well as also potential exposure to the overall population there. Again, 17,000 folks perhaps could be affected by this tornado emergency, not tornado warning, which, by the way, I know Ryan mentioned earlier too. Tornado emergency is more significant than a tornado warning, which means that this is a life-threatening situation that is currently in store here for these potential areas in the path. So again, this is over a potentially life-threatening tornado, that's wide tornado that we've seen earlier. This is the same cell that produced the tornado over in Grand Fork there and caused a significant amount of damage. But as we pass things over to Ryan to actually take a look at that cell.
Yeah, Winona, tornadoes knocking on your doorstep. Right here, this tornado is on you. This is a confirmed tornado. Aaron was just talking about how this is a tornado emergency. This is a confirmed tornado in the town of Winona. We're seeing it on radar with the debris ball right here. Just passed over I-55 near Winona. The next town in the line is going to be Comanche. So again, the storm moving off to northeast. It's about 10:30 at night. It's 9:30 local time. Think about it. At 9:30 at night, what are you doing? You're probably getting ready for bed, maybe watching a little TV, whatever's up in the latest on Netflix. You're definitely not thinking about a tornado. Okay, so if you're in the town of Winona, or if you know someone in the town of Winona, pull out your cell phone, give anybody that you know in this area a call and say, hey, I just want to make sure that you're weather aware, that you are paying attention to the news, that you're paying attention to the weather, because we've got a significant tornado in progress right now in Winona. And I want to, notice that we flip back and forth a lot between radar products. And this is because we're able to see different views on radar. I just switched radar sites over to the it's going to be Columbus, Mississippi radar. We're able to kind of switch back and forth between radars to see, what the winds are doing. The issue that we're running into now as the storm is moving over Winona is we're in a little bit of a radar hole. You notice if I move the radar back and forth, it kind of looks a little bit different, right? So you notice it goes from red to green, just like that. But that's not me trying to, flash you different colors and make it look like, everything's terrible. That's just what the way radar works is it only works for so long. And so we need multiple radar sites across the United States in order to fully protect the United States. There's over, I believe, 150 radar sites in the United States, just all over, making sure that we have it. There's a radar at the Tallahassee International Airport. If you ever take a flight out, go ahead and take a look for a white ball. It looks like a golf ball sitting on a tee. And what that does is it picks up winds just like this. And right now we're seeing in Winona, it's a little bit hard to see because radar is only good for so long, and then we need to switch sites to another radar. And unfortunately, where this tornado is kind of in between. But again, we're still kind of, this is on the Columbus, Mississippi radar. We're still seeing this correlation, or this correlation coefficient dropout. And this is being picked up at quite the height, because again, radar scans with height, and we're seeing this just correlation coefficient, this debris signature being lifted up into the atmosphere, and this is just showing how high that this tornado is getting. I'm going to toss it back over to Aaron, who's got more at the wall.
Thanks, Ryan. And I would also like to mention, too, as part of the reason why this has at least been upgraded to tornado emergency here is because, as shown by the Storm Prediction Center here and highlighted by them here, a strong to intense EF2 to EF3 tornado threat continues in a favorable environment. So it looks like, locally speaking here, we have very favorable conditions for strengthening of this particular cell here down towards Greenwood here. And that's the one that Ryan's been mentioning here, just covering just now here. And the reason why is because, again, we have this in this little hatched area just south of Tupelo and north of Starkville, there is potentially a favorable environment for this tornado to go into. So perhaps it could strengthen, it can get stronger. We'll have to see over the next several minutes to hours or so, unfortunately, as this severe weather event continues. And actually, this will be a good segue here into, at least for portions of eastern Mississippi, so Tupelo, where they haven't seen much in the way of any activity tonight. Those storms are starting to approach now from your west. And this particular cell, if it continues, potentially could get very close to Tupelo. So again, those there in the city of Tupelo need to watch out, as there potentially could be a storm heading your direction in the near future. So again, this storm system, or this particular warning here, emergency here, is currently in effect for the greater Mississippi area. Again, it looks like if it continues, it could approach perhaps to the south of Tupelo. Let's see. Looks like our warning off to the let's see. Okay, the north here is still continuing on near the Oxford area. If this continues on, this might go perhaps into Alabama, northwestern the corner of Alabama there. So again, you need to keep alert here as we do see these storms begin to wind down. It doesn't mean we not necessarily are done with the severe thunderstorm or the severe weather threat for tonight, as we still are underneath that enhanced risk there again over the at least over the Mississippi Valley into the Tennessee valleys as well. So again, we want to stress that many folks here near Jackson, Jackson, Mississippi, Nashville, and over into Greenville as well, within this bullseye area here, have the greatest potential for severe weather. Does not necessarily mean that they're the only people who will get severe weather. And again, that marginal risk actually does extend all the way from actually the extreme southwestern Ohio all the way down through about central Louisiana towards the Gulf Coast there. So there could even be a few isolated severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, etc. in effect for these particular areas. So as we roll throughout the rest of the night here, we'll have to watch as that continues. So again, the threat for tornadoes is about 10%, and we have that hatched area there in about pretty much the northern 2/3 of Mississippi. And we'll just quickly scroll through the wind as well. Wind is about 30% in the same areas as well, and then hail as well. And we also don't want to forget about flooding, as we've started to see some trending of these storms as they do make their way off to the north and east. But now we'll pass things back over to the wall with Ryan with more information.
Yeah, so I want to talk really quickly to the people of Winona, because you just had a probable tornado go through, but that's not the only threat we have right now. We have another circulation forming on the back edge of this storm that just passed through Winona. So if you're in Winona, I want you to stay in your shelter. You might have just heard a loud wind. You might have just heard, banging and trees falling. Yeah, you just experienced a tornado, but guess what? There's another one forming right behind it on radar. We're taking a look at velocity product, and we're seeing again another storm. We see a correlation drop out with this first storm that just went through Winona a few moments ago. Now along Highway 82, we're seeing another possible rotation being picked up. So I'll go ahead and circle for you the two areas of rotation. This is the first one right here, but notice again the reds and greens are kind of coming together. So we've got these two areas of rotation right now that we're noticing. We've got this one right here that is on the northeast side of Winona, but we've got another one now forming on the southeast side. That's again moving northeast, which is going to put itself back into Winona here in the next few minutes, because again, these storms that have the potential and have put down strong tornadoes, and again, these storms, it looks like the storm that just went through Winona had a tornado with it, still probably does, at least according to correlation coefficient. And now we're starting to see, again, the possibility for a tornado on the backside of this storm. So just because Winona, it got loud, and you may think you're in the clear, there's possible another tornado. And this storm is moving at about 60 miles per hour. So I want to put into, Aaron was talking a little bit earlier, I want to put into theory how fast 60 miles per hour is. You're on I-10, and you're going about 60 miles per hour, all right? Say you're going 70. Stick your hand out the window. And that's about how fast these storms are moving to the northeast. These storms are flying through these tornado warning boxes. These tornado warning boxes are meant to give you about 15 minutes lead time. These storms are just moving so quickly tonight. New tornado emergency again for Winona going until 10:15. This storm we've just been tracking and tracking and tracking for so many miles now. I feel like we've been talking about it for hours, and the fact of the matter is we've talked about this for well over an hour and a half at this point. When it first started near Lake Providence is when we first started tracking this, and now here we are about 100 miles later, and we still have we're still dealing with a possible tornado on the ground that just went through Winona. So again, tornado debris signature being picked up on Doppler radar with this storm over Winona. And again, this is not a good situation, folks. This tornado has been a long track tornado. We've gotten a lot of debris pictures already. If you follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather, there are pictures on there of when this storm was going through Rolling Fork, Mississippi, and Zach Hall, who's a storm chaser, trained storm chaser, said they need help. This is bad, and again, this is not looking good. Aaron's at the desk with more.
That's right, and I'm actually looking through some of the local storm reports here from the National Weather Service, and there have been several reports, and I actually would like to quickly mention as well, there have been reports of ditches on the side of the roads were completely full and overflowing onto the road. And again, that comes back to our localized flooding threat. Besides everything else that's been happening with tornadoes and severe thunderstorm warnings, we've been having these events where it's been training on one area after another. So this is actually reported in Tennessee here, where that's where they have the greatest flood threat. We also do have several, at least reports of trees down. We also do have power outages as well, reported as well through the LSR. So one particular near Blue Goose, I should say, Tennessee, from amateur radio, has reported trees down and a fence blown over. So this is from straight line winds, as there have not been any tornado warnings listed currently in Tennessee. So this is as a result of straight line winds. In Randolph, Mississippi, we also do have a report of tree and power lines down as well. Again, several reports of just power outages and trees down. And a lot of these are actually from just straight line winds, because again, it's very serious where, there could be several thunderstorms and more tornadoes that can actually produce these damages here. So again, we'll continue, as we continue to look through, for the most part, we do have reports of very heavy rain. So here in Arkansas, even there too, it says remarks of about 3.22 inches of rain for the day there. So a lot of rain being dumped at one time. It is not good. It is not great to actually, be in a situation where there's a flood threat, because it's, of course, we also want to emphasize turn around, don't drown. If you are driving through flooded roadways, don't, because you don't know how deep it is, especially at nighttime where even visibility is even less than it is during the day. You certainly don't want to continue that. Now, that tornado warning has actually been continued here until 10:30 Central Daylight Time across central northern Mississippi here, at least with that particular cell near Winona and now into Whitehall. So as you can see here, there is potential for that tornado that can continue on throughout, as we've been saying all night here. That's been tracking really, for the most part, as we've been looking at it through about Louisiana into Mississippi here over the past couple hours or so. Again, the tornado warning is in effect for Houston, New Halka, Treblock, Prairie, as well as Woodland. So if you're anywhere within this area, so that's about State Route or U.S. Route 405A over through about Slate Springs, you want to make sure you're actually in an interior portion of your structure, preferably the lowest structure you possibly, or lowest level of the floor you potentially can go to. So again, they have expanded that tornado warning to about 10:30 p.m. Central Time. And again, we want to also emphasize as well that this particular cell is actually getting really close to Tupelo. So, or sorry, I should say a separate cell is getting really close to Tupelo here, and actually includes portions of the northern portions of the city. So that includes New Albany as well, Blue Springs, Guntown, and Saltillo there, just north of Tupelo, is underneath a tornado warning. So again, if you are in this area, go to the lowest structure, or go to the lowest portion of the structure there in the or in your building where you're at, because again, this will continue on over the next several minutes or so. So again, we do have the tornado warnings in effect for northern portions of Tupelo there, as we'll zoom in here. So radar, this is radar indicated, so it's not observed, but it is radar indicated, which means it's possible that this could be on the ground right now, and you want to heed that advice as such. So another thing to remark too is also it's golf ball size hail is also possible. And actually, if we go back to radar here, the National Weather Service, that pink right here, that really saturated pink right there, the reds, is where we potentially could be seeing that hail at. That's where we're starting to scan at those upper level, or at least upper portions of the thunderstorm, where there could perhaps be very large objects. Those objects are perhaps very large hail structures, and the Weather Service has prompted that it could be as large as golf ball sized hail, and that's about this large here, at least if you look here. So again, this will continue on through about 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. This could perhaps be extended. We'll have to watch, as it will expire in about 10 minutes or so. This does include northern portions of Tupelo, so Saltillo, Guntown, Baldwin, Marietta, Manatee there. Again, you are underneath a tornado warning. This is north of Tupelo, and this does include some of the northern suburbs of the city of Tupelo. So the population is about 26,000 people, so it is pretty rural still. This could perhaps still include some of the suburbs of Tupelo. So again, if you are in this area, please do heed warning. This is not observed, hence why it's radar indicated, and as such, you want to treat that even if it's still not, even if there's still uncertainty as to whether or not it actually exists. You want to make sure you take those precautions, because if it is indeed on the ground, you want to make sure you're actually in that interior structure there. So if we go back to our power outage map to see if there's any more updates on that. It looks like, for the most part, things are staying pretty steady there in terms of reported power outages across the area. So again, there is a tornado perhaps that is moving just north of Tupelo, moving east at 50 miles per hour. So it is moving really fast. That's relatively close. It's about highway speed, country highway speed perhaps, out there. 50 miles per hour, so that is very strong. Again, potential tornado is possible with very large hail as well. So as we look here, as we continue to look through social media here, we can see that there are, again, reports of the tornadoes potential. Okay. So I just found another picture of potentially of that tornado near Rolling Fork from Stephanie Cox here, or Stormwatcher771 here on Twitter. Potentially, this could be the wedged or stovepipe tornado that could have affected Rolling Fork, I should say, Mississippi. So, again, just goes to the fact that this was a very large and damaging and long-lived tornado, as we're talking about this about 2 hours later from when it first started threatening the city of Rolling Fork. And again, we will continue to see these tornadoes continuing on throughout the nighttime as we head throughout the next several hours or so. And this line eventually will continue on throughout much of the nighttime into northwestern Alabama. But actually, I do want to go and highlight a little bit of tomorrow's risk of severe weather as well. It is definitely not nearly as large as it was today. However, considering that we're based out of Tallahassee, we want to make sure we do let folks know here locally that there is a marginal risk of severe weather from about the Emerald Coast, the Panhandle of Florida, over towards about Columbia, South Carolina, and getting kind of close to the North Carolina border there, where we do have the potential for a very isolated brief tornado or two, as well as a brief and isolated severe thunderstorm warning that is possible, at least in those portions as well. So tornado risk is low compared to today. So there's about a 2% risk of tornadoes, perhaps. That actually does include portions of perhaps northern portions of Tallahassee, more so into Georgia, south central Georgia, as well as coastal Georgia, and into south and eastern Alabama as well. So again, lower tornado chance tomorrow as well. A lower wind threat tomorrow as well. About 5% chance that we could perhaps see some damaging winds, and that does include the Tallahassee area as well as into places like Panama City, Destin. So if you are perhaps taking a nice vacation this weekend to the beach, you want to make sure you are weather aware of those thunderstorms that could perhaps be moving through the beaches there as well. And lastly, we go through our hail threat. It looks like the majority of the hail threat should stay actually Tallahassee northward through about Atlanta and over towards about Charleston, where again there could be perhaps a few reports of perhaps some larger hail can't be ruled out, but for the most part, it looks like, at least if there is any hail that is reported in those areas, it's probably going to be pea-sized hail. But again, there is also possible as we get into the city tomorrow.
Another tornado, if you want to switch back to graphics in the back real quick, another tornado just was reported on the ground in Winona. So if you're keeping track now, this is the second confirmed tornado that we've kept track of now on the ground in Winona. So if you're in Winona, I hope you stayed in your tornado warning locations. But again, another tornado now on the ground in Winona. I'll
specify real quick that it is along the same cell that produced the tornado earlier.
It is, yeah. And then this was the area here that also had a tornado on the ground. If we switch back to correlation coefficient really quick, we can see we're starting to get into a radar area where it's a little bit of a hole. It's kind of hard to see correlation coefficient and debris being picked up on radar. But again, we at one point had confirmation of a tornado on the ground in Winona, and now it appears that we have yet again another tornado on the ground in Winona. If we flip back to reflectivity, we can just take a look at what it looks like. This is your typical radar view when you turn on the TV and they're like, oh yeah, it's raining here. This is what you're going to see, all right? And we've got this long line of storms working its way through much of the deep south tonight. And it's going to be pushing its way further east into overnight Alabama, into the Panhandle of Florida, into Georgia, and overnight and early morning hours tomorrow. Now, this whole line has embedded thunderstorms in it that have the possibility of producing a tornado, and unfortunately, for the town of Winona, it appears that not one but two tornadoes are on the ground going through the town at the current moment. Again, taking a look at, if we want to flip off radar, and I just want to take a zoom out at all the areas that are under a watch or warning right now. We've got a lot of areas. This yellow here is all a tornado watch. This yellow with the red outline is a tornado watch. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning here approaching the town of Nashville. So Nashville, you're about to be under gun. We'll pull up your radar here in a moment. But these big red boxes are also tornado warnings. So we've got a couple tornado warnings here, starting to work their way towards the state line of Mississippi and Alabama. And then again, this tornado warning where we have that, I believe, tornado that went through Winona, and yet another tornado warning now behind it, again going through Winona. Let's go ahead and turn on reflectivity, and I want to see what's going on in the Nashville area, because this is kind of Nashville is kind of the biggest town we've had to talk about so far. We've got what is called a bow echo. So this is called a quasi-linear convective system, or QLCS. And what happens with these storms is, as wind is coming from behind it, it starts to push its way out. And as it starts to push its way out, that's where we start to see these strong winds. And the storm echo like this is indicative of strong winds. That's why we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for just areas west of Nashville. Again, so Dixon, looks like Cobble. These are areas that have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for strong winds going into, kind of pushing out from the center of this thunderstorm and this line. And it looks like, we still have tornado warnings in effect as we move throughout our coverage tonight. We've been on there for about 3 hours now, I believe. Actually, we're coming up on our third hour of coverage of these storms. We've kind of tracked them as they've started working their way. We first kind of came on air as these storms were pushing their way out of Arkansas and parts of Louisiana. Now these storms have pushed their way through Mississippi. Now we're starting to work our way into Alabama and into good environment. We've seen a lot of tornadoes, or a lot of tornado warnings throughout Mississippi tonight. And again, we're starting to see storms start to fire their way up across much of the deep south, including the tornado warning we have in effect for Winona and other areas in Mississippi. We have this tornado warning here, including Guntown. I'm going to flip on velocity product really quick, and we're going to take a look inside this storm with the winds. We'll notice that right in here is where we're seeing kind of our best area of rotation. Right in here, northeast of Guntown, that's where we have that possibility for a tornado warning. But just because there may or may not be a tornado warning associated with it does not mean that there's not strong winds. I'm going to switch back here, and I'm going to switch this way. Slate Springs, to the southeast of Slate Springs, we have a strong couplet, and it's kind of hard to tell because we're in between radar sites, but it looks like there is some sort of debris signature associated with this storm. Just got an update from the National Weather Service that the tornado warning in Winona and Manatee, Mississippi are now radar indicated tornadoes. And again, lots of images just coming in on social media of possible tornadoes. I'm going to kind of move the radar around a little bit, and there's so many storms going on tonight that it's kind of hard to keep track of anything. I want to switch the velocity on this storm because I just saw on Twitter someone tweeted that this looked interesting. And yeah, I do agree that kind of northeast of Baldwin, if this is not a tornado on the ground, this definitely has the potential to put a tornado on the ground as this storm kind of pushes off to the east near Tishomingo. And again, we were talking about Nashville just a little bit earlier. We've got strong winds with this severe thunderstorm warning. You'll notice those bright greens are indicative of very, very strong winds. We'll do a quick click on it to see about 72-mile-per-hour winds are being picked up on the radar in Nashville. So very strong winds associated with this thunderstorm as it's starting to work its way into kind of most populated city that we've talked about tonight, that being Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going to switch back to reflectivity so those of you in Nashville can see kind of what's coming your way. Again, for those of you in Nashville, we're not talking about tornado warning, but it doesn't really matter what kind of winds are coming your way. We have strong winds approaching downtown Nashville right now, associated with this severe thunderstorm warning. So Centerville, Dickinson, all along this line here, we have strong winds, and this is really what's causing these severe thunderstorm warnings to be issued. But we've been tracking these storms for hours now. This is entering our third hour of coverage here. It's been entered at 11 o'clock hour in Tallahassee, 10 o'clock Central Time. We've been keeping an eye on on this huge line of storms associated with the cold front that's moving its way through the deep south tonight. We've tracked tornado warnings through Mississippi. We've tracked a couple tornadoes on the ground that were significant. We've tracked tornado emergencies that were on the ground for miles as these storms have worked their way through Louisiana, Arkansas, through Mississippi, are now starting to knock on the door of Tennessee and work their way into Alabama. We still have multiple tornado warnings in effect. I just want to kind of do a little reset as we enter the 11 o'clock hour and take a look at where all of our watches and warnings are in effect. We've got this whole yellow box here is a tornado watch, and then the orange boxes are where we have our severe thunderstorm warnings, and then these red boxes are tornado warnings. The darker red boxes are flash flood warnings. Aaron has kind of been talking about how we've been focused so much on severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings that these storms are putting down lots of rain in areas that have already allowed water, and it's causing flash flooding in many areas, including we have a flash flood warning in Memphis. But again, we've got this huge line of storms working their way through the deep south. I'm going to put on a zoomed out look at the radar that's just going to kind of show what's been happening across the deep south this evening and as we enter the overnight hours of coverage. We've got this long line of strong showers associated with this cold front. And as these storms that were initially kind of out in front of this QLCS line are kind of being absorbed by the cold front, but that doesn't mean that they're not producing a tornado. We saw that tornado about 2 hours ago that was kind of out in front of this cold front. Now the cold front's kind of picked it up, but notice we still have that tornado warning in effect. So just because the cold front and the QLCS line have kind of caught up with these discrete cells that were causing tornado warnings earlier and the tornado emergencies earlier, we're still seeing these tornado warnings in effect as these storms push off to the east.
That's right, and we'll actually recap as to the overall setup of the whole system here as we have, of course, that day one outlook as we see again, we have that enhanced risk in effect currently for the western portions of Tennessee as well as into Alabama and Mississippi as well. That continues on throughout the next several hours or so as those storms continue on throughout much of at least overnight tonight and as they push off towards the east. And we've been here covering this over the past 2 hours now, I believe, or yeah, 2 hours now. Actually, no, 3 hours now, 8 p.m. here. A little bit tired here. So you can see that overall, again, the system will continue on move off towards the east here over the next several days or over the next couple hours or so. And again, we have the largest potential is going to be tornadoes as well as large hail is possible and high winds and flooding. And again, as we've been showing you all night too as well, there have been reports of flooding, at least in portions of Tennessee, as well as into also Arkansas and into Mississippi as well. So again, do not forget that water is also an important factor in these severe storms as well. On top of that, of course, we've been having the tornado. We've been tracking the two long-lived tornadoes moving through essentially through the whole state of Mississippi at this point. Overnight here, at least, of course, across northern Mississippi and then central Mississippi, again, where this enhanced bullseye is. So we've also been looking at potentially high winds as well associated with severe thunderstorm warnings. And we actually do have that warning in effect just off to the west of Nashville, Tennessee, where they potentially could be seeing winds as high as 60 miles per hour, which is about freeway speed. And if I want to use a quote from the great Robert Zott here on FSU Weather, if you stick your hand out at the window on the freeway, that's essentially what the speed is of the winds as they do blow through the area here, at least in terms of where the warnings at least near Nashville, Tennessee or so. And then, of course, we could see more warnings as the night progresses into portions of northwestern Alabama, where they actually did issue recently expand that tornado watch there in effect. So overall, the instability that we do have right now, it will persist, not as much as we've seen earlier in places, at least earlier as we saw in places like Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas, but there is still potential we could see some instability as we continue throughout the night, especially in northern, northwestern Alabama. And it's possible they could maybe extend that watch further off to the west, depending on how significant it might be. But again, these storms are going to fall apart as they get, at least as they get into the day tomorrow here. And as well, we're talking about the wind shear, where we have winds, at least near the surface, coming in out of the south. And we also have winds, at least in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, coming out of the west. And what that's allowing for, it's allowing for perhaps an efficiency in rotation. And when you have rotation of an air column that's vertically stacked down to the ground and it actually touches the ground, that is what we call a tornado. At least a vertically spinning column that is not touching the ground, but you can still see it, is more so of a funnel cloud. So again, the national water vapor here, we see that low pressure system actually coming up quite nicely here near the Missouri area. And what that's doing is it's dropping down a cold front through the Houston area. And what that's doing is it's just drying things out behind it. It's making, at least there's stable air behind that front. But out ahead of it, where you see these oranges and that reds, which indicates the higher level thunderstorms where it's colder, which means these thunderstorms have very robust updrafts. And that's where we see the strongest weather here, with at least in northern Mississippi into Tennessee as well. As we look at our radar here, we will see those thunderstorms continuing off through about the 4 a.m. hour here. This is 4 a.m. Eastern, so 3 a.m. Central. We see those storms just making their way past Huntsville by this time, getting kind of close to Birmingham here as well, at least as we come on throughout the next several hours or so. And as we push on throughout the early morning hours tomorrow into the mid to late morning hours, we will see that front continuing off towards the south and east and actually pose a little, perhaps a 1 out of 5 marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow across the Tallahassee area. But at least back here, where we've seen the severe weather now, we're going to stay more or less dry, and we see the sun come out. And of course, we'll welcome the sun coming out here after our day today across Mississippi, Alabama, and into Louisiana. But unfortunately, there have been reports of damage there, so it is not great, at least in terms of the reports we're hearing out of those areas. So tomorrow we have that marginal risk in effect from about the Panhandle of Florida up to about central or near the border of North Carolina there, near Myrtle Beach. And our current radar there, we do see at least the current showers and storms, the line of storms that are currently working their way throughout the Memphis and the Mississippi area.
All right, thank you so much, Aaron. Yeah, so we've been talking for a while as we've been tracking these storms through Mississippi, Belzoni to Chula. We've been tracking these storms for hours since they first entered Mississippi, all the way near Rolling Fork and Lake Providence. We've been tracking these storms as they've been going through Mississippi, and now starting to knock on the door of Alabama. We just got our first severe thunderstorm warning in Alabama. So I want to take a look at the power outage map, because we've been tracking these storms as they've gone through Mississippi for a couple hours now. And now we're starting to get our numbers in Yazoo County. You've got about 886 out of 1,300 customers out of power. Sharkey County, where we saw possible tornado go through. Well, not possible. We confirmed that tornado. It was a tornado emergency. You've got about over 90% of the county without power. Humphreys County, again, we saw a possible tornado go through. 650 people without power. All through central Mississippi, we're seeing counties without power. And it's not just from tornadoes. Even though Montgomery County, you've got most of your county without power. It's not just tornadoes. It's all kinds of strong winds. All it takes is some strong wind to knock out these transformers and cause power outages. I want to take a zoom in on this tornado warning approaching Alabama and northeast Mississippi, because this one, at the very least, has a good hail core together, but we are noticing some rotation right in here that is indicative of the possibility of a tornado. We've got strong winds associated with this storm as well. If we go ahead and just put a map on this, the radar is picking up 75-mile-per-hour winds. Now, granted, these winds might not be reaching the surface, but nonetheless, these winds are rotating, which is what's causing this tornado warning. If we go ahead and switch over to a hydrometer classification, we can kind of see what kind of what is falling out of the sky. So these reds indicate hail that we're seeing from this storm, and the reason I put on hydrometer classification is because these pinks are indicative of larger water droplets being in the atmosphere, and in this case, not water droplets, it's hail that's falling near Paden and Tishomingo, you guys are also under a tornado warning. And I believe the reason they would have put this severe thunderstorm warning into Alabama out is to kind of give people a heads up as to, hey, this possible tornado-producing thunderstorm is coming your way. We just want to give you guys that extra little bit of lead time that this storm is coming your way in the next about 30 minutes or so. Taking a look at the southern warning as well, this one is the one we've been tracking for probably about 100 miles now. We've been tracking it for a couple hours here on FSU Weather. Woodland, Houston, this is all areas that are within this tornado warning. And I just want to read up on this tornado warning. It's got about another 18 minutes on it. So the National Weather Service with this storm has gone through a couple different languages on it. First started off with a tornado warning with radar indicated rotation. That was then confirmed. Then they realized, hey, this is a bad tornado, bumped up to a tornado emergency. And there's multiple different ways that the National Weather Service can phrase a tornado warning. And right now they're using radar indicated rotation. So for the most part right now, that means that we're not seeing any debris being picked up on Doppler radar. Now that being said, there's a little bit of difference, a little bit of distance between this black hole, which is the radar site, and where we're tracking these storms. So just because right now we're not seeing anything on radar that indicates a possible tornado, that isn't to say that there's not one currently on the ground, because we're shooting at such a far out angle. Now, this is where our rotation is approaching the town of Woodland. And I want to note that right now, this velocity product is not well put together, but it isn't just this storm has been rotating for so long. It's actually at one point kind of picked up the tornado and then put it back down, and that might be what we're experiencing right now, is a little bit weaker of a rotation, but we're seeing stronger velocity products with it. I want to switch to a product that's going to take a look at how much rain has come down in the last hour or so, because these storms have put down lots and lots of rain. We talked about that flash flooding risk, and you'll notice just how long track these storms have been putting rain down. We'll see near North Carlton and Winona, where Winona saw a tornado go through, just how much rain has fallen, and that these storms are now starting to work their way into Alabama and out of Mississippi. So the good news is, for the most part in Mississippi, except for eastern Mississippi, the severe weather threat has ended. But eastern and central Mississippi, we're near Houston, Manatee, even near Duck Hill and Winona, we're still seeing these tornadoes move up. But if you're in Lake Providence, Rolling Fork, where we saw the tornado move through earlier, we can go ahead and give you the all clear, as well as Jackson, Crystal Springs, northeast Mississippi, we can give you the all clear. These storms are starting to now push their way, especially on the east end, starting to push their way into Tennessee and Alabama. I want to go ahead and pop up Nashville's radar, because for a little bit now we've been talking about Nashville and how what kind of storms are coming their way. We've got quite the gust front and quite the rain band coming their way. So you notice Nashville, here's Nashville where my finger is. Just a few miles away, we're seeing this kind of bowing feature on radar. And what this bowing feature is just strong winds kind of pushing the reflectivity values out. And we'll notice as this approaches downtown Nashville that, again, the severe thunderstorm warning pushing northeast towards the town of Nashville. So we've been tracking all these storms, and I'm going to go ahead and switch back to reflectivity mode and kind of give it a grand overview of what we're seeing, because we've been tracking these storms since about right in here, and we've just been going further and further northeast as time has gone on. Now we're starting to see Nashville, even a new severe thunderstorm warning in Kentucky. So we're going to be wrapping up our coverage here in the next few minutes, but we don't want to, kind of ignore the fact that we still have tornado warnings in effect, we still have a couple tornado warnings in effect, as well as a new severe thunderstorm warning in central Mississippi. So I'm going to switch radar sites back real quick before we end our coverage, just so we can kind of take a look at what's going on in Mississippi. We've got just a big burst of energy throughout these storms. And when we first started our coverage this morning, we were tracking discrete cells that were moving through much of the deep south. Now they're starting to push their way further into Mississippi, but now they're not really as much discrete cells as it's more just a line associated with this cold front, what we call a quasi-linear convective system. So this QLCS is starting to push its way out into the further into the deep south. I want to take a look at the power outage numbers. So Mississippi, Tennessee, we are seeing quite a bit of power outages as we wrap up our coverage tonight. I'm going to toss it back over to Aaron, who's going to take a look at the radar for us.
That's right. We'll actually take one last look at the overview of the system because, again, we want to ensure people that this storm now is going to affect places in Alabama as well. And we want to make sure we wrap up on that note as well. So anyways, tornado safety real quick. Again, one last reminder before you do go to bed tonight. Make sure you have a plan on where you're actually going to go. So you want to make sure you go to interior portions like a hallway or a bathroom or stairs or the closet too. Don't go to the deck. That is outside. You will be blown away. If there's a tornado, don't do that. At least in this example, the bedroom or the kitchen or the garage are perhaps the weakest parts of the house, so you don't want it to go there either. You want to go to the interior portion of the house. So in this diagram, that means the hallway, the stairs, or the closet, where there are no windows and there is nothing, at least not as much weakness between you and the exterior wall. And again, we also, if you have a basement, that's actually the better place to be at, as that is the part the furthest away from the natural elements where the tornado could be at. It's underground. You're not above where there's flying debris everywhere. So that's the safest place to be at if you have a basement there, at least in your structure or wherever you're actually at. So one last time, we'll take a look at our severe risk today and into tomorrow. I should say for the rest of today, considering it's 11 o'clock Eastern here. So we do have that enhanced risk right now that's in effect for Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. That'll continue over the next several hours or so. These thunderstorms will eventually wind down throughout the next several hours or so. But again, there is still the potential we could see some tornadoes, some hail, some high winds, and also some flooding. That's what we've been seeing over the past several hours or so in states like Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi, where we've all seen reports of all the above here, at least as we've been taking coverage over to you all there. And over the next several hours or so, we'll continue to see perhaps a little bit of instability throughout 5 a.m. or so through central Alabama as well as into northern Alabama as well. So Birmingham, Montgomery might be under the gun as you get to about 5 Eastern, 4 Central in the morning. So again, the most crucial thing is make sure you have the NOAA weather radio intact here, at least right next to you, or your phone as well. And make sure you receive alerts overnight to wake you up. You want to make sure you get woken up immediately because you may only have minutes or so to go to that structure, to go to that nearest structure you potentially have to go to. And you should actually create that plan before you go to bed. So our wind shear as well, we have that tornado. The best recipe for today for a tornado development. The winds are going to be rotating again as well with winds out of the west here along the jet stream. And then we also have winds out of the south there. And what that's doing is it's allowing the more efficient way for these storms to actually rotate around the actual storms. And overall, our national weather vapor, we have that system, that low pressure area here across Missouri and extending all the way down through the, at least with that cold front extending down through about, the Texas area. But again, overnight, we also would like to promote our socials here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram as well to keep up with the latest here at FSU weather, not just on show days, but also throughout events like this where we do have severe weather. So make sure you do heed those warnings as they occur overnight. I've been student meteorologist Aaron Saray. Have a great night.